I know.
I had to do that here today because we were getting ready for this meeting. So we're like, let's crank it up and see how cold we can get it in here.
All right, I am calling the Village of Cross Plains Board of Trustees meeting for June 8th, 2026. The order, roll call, please.
Trustee Henry.
Here.
Trustee Brochus.
Here.
Trustee Borcar. Here. Trustee Borland.
Here.
Trustee Pankowski.
Here.
Trustee Calvin.
Here.
President Patel.
Here. You stand for Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're at public comment. This is an opportunity for anyone to address the village board on any issue. Please observe the time limit of 3 minutes. While the village board encourages input from residents, they may not discuss or act on any issue that is not duly noticed on the agenda. I will start with the people here first, please.
All right, first I have, and I apologize if I mispronounced the name of his name, Dennis Bronke.
Wait, that's it.
Just state your name and address for the record, please.
Dennis Frankie, 4765 County Road KP, Town Cross Plains. But at the second Highway 14 bridge, so in the out of the Village West, so that's in the extraterritorial jurisdiction. My wife and I moved to Wisconsin 35 years ago because of its greater opportunities for hiking, biking, and fishing. We lived on Black Earth Creek for 35 years, for 30 of those years. We see it every day. It's measured 172 feet out the living room window. So I have my own personal concerns for preserving and protecting Black Earth Creek and its recreational components. But what would a more objective source identify as concerns? Let's ask AI. It's in the news every day. Let's ask it a fair question. In Cross Plains, Wisconsin, development seems to be an issue for influencing Black Earth Creek as a trout stream and a recreational corridor, especially the Marshstone development on its east side. What are the issues involved? The proposed Marshstone development on the east side of Cross Plains, a 480-acre project featuring 470 homes and a golf course, is highly scrutinized due to its location in the sensitive Black Earth Creek. The primary issues involve water quality, flood management, recreational impacts, and community growth rates. Specific environmental and community concerns include threats to cold water ecosystems. Black Earth Creek is a Class 1 trout stream. Environmental advocates worry that transforming hundreds of acres of open woodland and farmland into a golf course and residential lots will increase stormwater runoff, elevate water temperatures, and introduce fertilizers and herbicides that damage the stream's delicate ecology. Impact on Fescue Springs. The development is adjacent to the Fescue Springs complex, which feeds fresh, cold water into Black Earth Creek. There are concerns that grading and paving could disrupt these vital groundwater inputs. Recreational and park integration. The east side of the village is an active residential corridor connecting to areas like the Ice Age National Trail and local parks. Residents are debating whether the development integrates properly with these trails or disrupts the natural scenic character of the corridor. Runoff and flooding risk. The watershed is prone to severe flooding. Adding impervious surfaces from roofs and driveways significantly increases the volume and speed of runoff, heightening flood risk for Cross Plains and downstream communities. Local organizations and residents are closely monitoring the project's approvals and pushing for stricter environmental protections, including bluff preservation ordinance.
15 seconds, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, I have Brian Orland.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Brian Wallen, 1771 Cornerstone Drive, Cross Plains. I have 40 years of experience working as an architect and a landscape in scenery and viewshed protection. I attended the June 1st meeting of the Planning Commission and listened to all the discussion and reviewed the proposed changes to the village ordinances. I have submitted a letter detailing my concerns about the proposed changes to the ordinances. I am against changing the ordinances without full consideration of their village-wide possible impacts, not just immediate, but the future. In this case, the best resolution is to maintain the ordinance, as it is until the village has had adequate time to give the proposed changes the same depth of study as the original creation of the ordinances. To satisfy the developer's needs for this specific development, they could request a waiver, one element of which might be language in the covenants to require owners to protect tree cover where the hilltop buffer and other woodland impinges on their properties. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next we have Emily Swan.
Hi, my name is Emily Spahn. I reside at 1603 Main Street in Cross Plains. I've been a village resident for almost 13 years. I'm also a member of the Cross Plains Parks and Rec Committee and have been since 2022. I'm here tonight to urge all members of the village board to uphold the current walk protection ordinance. As a PRC member, I'm decently knowledgeable with regard to the Marchstone development and their plans. Unlike a lot of people here, I think I'm a little different because I actually do support the addition of homes and a golf course in this space. I understand that it will likely never be conservancy land as many people have hoped for, and that the village board had no control over the sale of what was private property. However, when the developers purchased the land and began development, they were very well aware of village ordinances. I fully believe they assumed that they could just steamroll over our little village board and get what they want, which is unfortunately exactly what seems to be happening here. I am realistic and I know that for Cross Plains to thrive, we do need more families, more homes and businesses like the golf course. However, I am unsure why we are suddenly posing this as an ultimatum, that we can either have the bluffs or we can have growth, but not both. The truth is that most of these homes can be built while following our current ordinances, just like many of the other new homes the neighborhoods developed in the last decade have been. It might just not be the way the Marchstone wants it to be. Allowing for an ordinance change or even a variance for Marchstone would only set the precedent for others to ask for the same. I believe that their threat to pull out of the deal is nothing but bluff on someone to see how much we are willing to budge, especially considering they have already conceded to accept 100 feet back rather than the 50 they originally proposed. If they do indeed decide not to proceed with the remaining phases, they will most likely sell the land to another developer who will then be faced with the exact same building ordinances. Why not make our stance clear now by upholding and maintaining the current ordinances that have been placed for decades and were originally drafted to maintain the beauty of the bluffs, because those village board members saw the need to protect what makes Cross Plains special. We may be a small village, but we are one with a strong community. And it's very clear based on the social media posts I have read and the people here tonight that our strong community values the incredible landscape that surrounds our village. Thank you to all of the board members for the countless number of hours that you've spent working for our village. I truly appreciate the work that you do. I know there are board members here tonight who have strong feelings on both sides of this issue, and I urge you all to think maybe a little less about your own personal opinions and feelings and make a decision that both supports the desires of our community as well as preserves the national assets of our village. Please do not sacrifice the beauty of the bluffs in the name of growth when we can have both. Thank you.
Thank you.
Audrey Rice.
Oh, thank you. Hi, I'm Audrey Rice, 2712 Astor Street. Thank you for the opportunity to comment on the proposed changes to the Hillside Ordinance. My name is Audrey Rice, and I represent the Blackside Creek Watershed Association. Whose mission is to advocate for the wise management of the land and water resources of the Blackside Creek Watershed. In addition to the village of Cross Plains, please realize decisions regarding to the ordinance may also impact downstream Black Earth and Hazelmead communities. Anglers, paddlers, hikers, and other visitors make significant economic contributions to Cross Plains and downstream watershed. Your decisions of the village of Cross Plains leaders thus have a critical environmental and economic consequences on all communities in the watershed. BLCRA proposes cleaning the area of woodlands protected by the current ordinance. When the hillside ordinance was enacted in 1988, hillside setback distances were primarily based on visual impacts only. We urge the Village of Cross Plains Board to also consider the scientific evidence and for the potential impacts of changing the hillside protection ordinance in Black Earth. Phase 2 of the proposed Marshstone development is mostly upstream of Cross Plains, and the springs, including the Fescue Springs, contribute to about 50% of the flow of Black Earth Creek. This keeps the creek cold for the trout fishery and lessens the impact of pollutants in the village section, where a large percentage of trout spawning occurs. These springs are best protected when stormwater is allowed to first enter the ground be filtered by pollutants and cooled before joining the groundwater that bubbles up through the springs. We greatly appreciate the developer who adhered to over 98% infiltration for phase 1 and also for phase 2. We advocate for maximizing infiltration to the sensitive nature of the hill slope proposed for phase 2 development. Maintaining existing woodlands now protected by the ordinance ultimately improves the water quality of Black Earth Creek. The extensive root systems of mature trees prevent erosion and maximize infiltration rates. Many trees are classed by some stakeholders as fair or low value trees. While some may not think that these trees have timber or aesthetic value, they may be highly valuable from a water quality perspective. This is because leaf litter on the forest floor and extensive root systems reduce erosion of hill slopes and promote infiltration. In summary, the village has almost 30-year legacy of protecting the scenic beauty of the hillsides on the edge of the Jokos. Both residents and visitors have commented on the importance of the village asset to all who live and recreate here, and many have expressed a desire to keep the protections for this valuable resource in place. The decisions that you leaders make to protect Black Earth Creek will have a far-reaching consequence beyond the village of Cross Plains and this particular development. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Jenny Dietering.
Hi, Jenny Dietering, 4005 Creekside Way in Cross Plains. So I'm here today to ask our board to reject the proposed changes to the hillside ordinance from 150 feet setback to 100 feet as requested by the Hain developers of the Marshstone property. I love Cross Plains, as has already been mentioned and will be mentioned many times. The hills, bluffs, and creeks are our defining features that make our village unique. When I tell people I live in Cross Plains, they immediately say that it's so beautiful out here. You ask anyone in this room why they moved to Cross Plains, pretty high up on that list is going to be the green space and the small town country feel. And in fact, if you go to the Marshstone website, that's exactly what they're selling. Here's a quote from that site. Living at Marshstone means more than proximity to the, it means waking up to open views, enjoying quieter streets, and embracing a lifestyle shaped by green space and natural beauty. That is in their own words. The 150 hillside ordinance is exactly the reason why, even though our village population has grown about 50% since I moved here 17 years ago, it still doesn't feel any bigger, and the green space is for everyone to enjoy. 38 years ago, our board members had the foresight to put this ordinance in place. Otherwise, today, we may all see houses dotting our hillside views as we drive through town. Our village comprehensive plan that was last implemented in 2018 affirmed the desire to protect our hilltops and hillsides. We need to be smart now and have the same foresight about what we want our village to look like in another 38 years. Year after year, Dane County continues to be the fastest growing county in Wisconsin. We're at an inflection point here, and we get to choose the future of our area. As Middleton creeps closer and closer, we can choose to get swallowed by the sea of houses, or we can choose to thoughtfully craft that growth so that we can retain our natural beauty and resources and protect wildlife habitat. We get to decide how we want that to look, not the developers. I do not think the majority of residents here today are against growing business and housing developments. We all want to see our village thrive, but I want to see thoughtful, smart growth that doesn't compromise our natural resources and character. Making a permanent change at this point sets a new precedent for other developers and will be very hard to reverse in the future. I'm particularly concerned about the pressure currently being applied by developers regarding the 150-foot setback. We heard at the Plan Commission meeting last week that the Hain developers were aware of the hillside ordinance from the beginning. I would like you to ask them why they didn't start their plans working with that knowledge. They proceeded with developing plans for a 50-foot setback and then demanded an ordinance change under the threat of pulling the project and along with it funding for the new reservoir. Even with a change to 100 feet, we must not bend to these demands at the expense of our community's identity. Our board maintains control over the pace and nature of our growth, and there will always be other developers willing to abide by our standards. We've previously seen the consequences of altering ordinances like the water quality corridor that had impacts during the flooding, and then less than 3 years later, the creek crossing development broke ground, and now there's several houses along Brewery Creek. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Kate Baldwin.
Hi there. My name is Kate Baldwin and I live at 4579 White Oak Circle in Cross Plains. The specific language of this hillside ordinance is not common, but the goal it serves absolutely is. Towns with strong natural character routinely find ways to protect it, such as some neighboring municipalities that require many, many acres for even one small house. The Village of Cross Plains chose this hillside edge rule as their vehicle, one vehicle, to protect the natural character of this special area 50 years ago. Tonight, you're being asked to weaken it. And I want to talk about this in terms of stacking. So the stack starts before tonight. First, the village municipal code had required new development to maintain a 100% infiltration rate compared to what it was before. But in 2017, a state law overrode that, so capping the legal requirement at 90%. So although many developers, such as Marchstone, have voluntarily gone above and beyond that, the ability to legally enforce more than 90% is already gone. That's off the table. Next, you're being asked to allow structures closer to the hillside edge. Third, you're being asked to allow more tree removal than the current 30% limit by creating exceptions for species like cherry and maple and more that make up more than half the trees on the site. Those trees might not be prized oaks, but their canopies slow rainfall, their roots and leaf litter hold the soil, they support wildlife. The ecological assessment shows 125 acres of proposed tree removal, and what remains will be thinned. This will affect water, this will affect flow. But if this particular developer is able to achieve 98% of the current infiltration on phase 2, it still means more water runoff. I would estimate about 6 million additional gallons of runoff. Just a little bit more, and that is not recharging our groundwater, it's running off instead. And since these laws would affect all village and going into the future, if there was a future development at, say, a similar site, and those developers were just gonna go with the legally required 90% infiltration of what it was before, that could actually result in 50% more water runoff because of how these percentages work. And in this case, this extra runoff we have will have golf course chemicals in it. So I'm just asking you not to evaluate each of these modest changes in isolation. We have reduced infiltration, we have structures closer to the edge, we have fewer trees, fewer leaf litter, chemical runoff. So all these stack up and combine. And the hillside ordinance is just one thread in this fabric that has been protecting this creek for decades, and I would ask you not to pull it.
Thank you.
Ben Spector.
I'm Ben Spector, 1783 Cornerstone Drive, Cross Plains. I attended last week's public hearing to voice my opposition to the amendment seeking a reduction of the hilltop edge buffer and to listen openly to the opinions and considerations of others. One comment that has reverberated in me over this past week came following public comment, and it was that those against the reduction of the hilltop edge buffer don't care about money. I highlight this comment specifically because I think it's a misrepresentation of my perspective, and I believe inconsistent with viewpoints of my village neighbors who voiced their concerns last. Rather than naively not caring about money, we wisely recognize there are some things that money can't buy. It cannot put a price on the calm created by driving through the rolling hills that mark the gateway to the driftless after a stressful day of work. It cannot quantify a dollar amount for the serenity I find while wading in Black Earth Creek, surrounded by our untouched bluffs. I cannot buy the sense of belonging I find from living in a community that has the shared values of treasuring the natural resources, as demonstrated through events like Trout Bay. I feel that this decision regarding the hilltop edge buffer represents a critical juncture that will establish lasting precedents with Village of Cross Plains. If approved, I fear the precedent will be that rather than working within the confines of our ordinances, developers will proceed with the mindset that they can use financial incentivization to make impactful and lasting changes to existing regulation. This will come at the expense of our invaluable bluffs that once lost cannot be reclaimed. In contrast, if our current hilltop edge buffer is maintained, we will set the precedent that we are a community with a sense of self-determination and one that continues to cherish the natural beauty and resources that make Cross Plains so special. I strongly urge the board to support the latter by opposing this amendment, and doing so help preserve the nature that surrounds us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Schutz.
Thank you. My name is Sue Schatz. I live at 2730 Birchwood Pass. The developers just love to push, push, push. They know the rules when they approach the village with their plans, or they learn about them soon enough. They always want more. To the village board and plan commission, please respect the rules and ordinances of the village of Cross Plains. The rules and ordinances were put into place for a reason. Just say no to the demands for the developer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Amber Field.
Hi all.
Bye.
Well, I'm Amber Field. I live at 3012 Shady Circle. Thanks for taking more public comments on this. I strongly urge the board to vote no to the proposed ordinance change. Expanding the setback allowance by 50 feet, which affects our village and the surrounding municipalities permanently, sets a dangerous precedent for future developers and homeowners that will create lasting impact on our viewshed, erosion control, and storm management. I am not opposed to working with the developer on a waiver or variance. However, I strongly prefer we ask them to maintain the existing 150 foot setback. As a former project manager, I know projects go through many iterations. They have made a ton of changes to their plans already. They will make more, and this is just one more iteration. The village board's role is to reflect the will of the citizens and uphold our comprehensive plan. I know you all know this, but our current plan was adopted December 17th, 2018, and it provides consistent and repeated support for the existing hillside and steep slope protections. The plan, 1, documents the existing 20% slope prohibition and 150 foot buffer as village policy. 2, it lists steep slope protection as an explicit objective. 3, it mandates continued compliance with the steep slope and hilltop ordinance as a binding policy. 4, it includes steep slopes within mapped environmental for new development is discouraged. 5, it calls for identification and preservation of hillside areas. And 6, it recognizes hillside conservation as central to community identity as expressed by 80% of survey respondents. 80%. These comments are made on page 7, 9, 17, 18, 20, 25, 26, 27, and 75 of the comprehensive plan. I will submit a summary of the comments for your review. They're right here, I'll pass them out. Any proposed ordinance change that weakens or eliminates the hillside development restrictions would be directly inconsistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the Adopt Your Comprehensive Plan. I also want to underscore Eric Borkhardt's point that he wrote in about. Marshall is currently going through the CARPAC urban service area process, which heavily weighs alignment with a municipality's comprehensive plan. If the village acts against its own plan to favor this developer, it creates major inconsistencies in the regional planning review and could actually derail the project. A no vote tonight may be the best thing for the project's long-term viability. Finally, the developer should comment alongside the public, not after. In both meetings I've attended, the developer speaks last and seems to skew the facts without allowing citizens to respond. For example, last week at the planning commission, they changed their setback request for meeting from 50 feet to 100 feet, and the board debated that new number without further public input. It seemed unfair. It leaves us feeling honestly pretty cruddy and unheard. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Jason Franklin.
Hello, thank you for letting me speak. Jason Franzen, 309 King Arthur's Court, Cross Plains. I did make a list of notes. I don't have a bunch of facts. I'm here in support of the developer, the development, and the change to the ordinance. A couple of points I just want to make. You know, when the village annexed this property, I think it was for a purpose. Whether it was, from what I'm hearing from the residents that are speaking in opposition, in their mind, it was to protect the village. Obviously, there was other financial reasons and decisions made of why it was annexed. My understanding is the neighboring townships do not have the exact same ordinance, so any developer could come in and do a development on surrounding properties, and this ordinance would not be in effect. Secondly, I've lived in the village. I'm not officially from Cross Plains. I've been here almost 24 years. In the time I've been here, I've seen very little or slow growth. And when I moved here, I knew that I was moving to farmland or open land, and I knew that someday potentially it was going to get developed. Right out my back door, I've watched Viridian put a whole bunch of homes in, and I'm okay with that. That's part of growth, part of progress, and I would urge this board to continue to work in hand with the developer. They're doing the right thing. A golf course community is going to add way more green space than you could ever imagine a developer would bring to the table. So that's a huge positive. Golf courses are very heavily regulated when it comes to runoff and pesticides and the things that they use. So when you start thinking forward, and again, another thing that just came to mind is the whole water usage tower. I personally had to pay over $5,000 to get my water pressure to even be usable in my home, because where I live, the water supply is almost inadequate, even where the fire services would not be fully functional. So for all of those reasons, please do the right thing and work with this developer in making this come to fruition. Thank you.
I'm gonna. Mark?
Sorry, I'd like to define this.
Okay, thank you.
Everyone knows this.
Right? Brian Bonzi.
Thank you, Brian Bonte, 2710 South Elmwood Circle East. I was here last week for the planning commission meeting, and I just want to react to a couple of things I heard there and then reiterate a couple of my comments for the board members who weren't meeting last week. First of all, I just want to say, thank you. I know what you're doing is really hard, and you've been working on this for a very long time. And I think, the village is really well aware of this, right? I noted some frustration last time at the kind of opposition that's coming up at this rather late stage of the process. But I want to tell you, I think I've been aware of this all along. The Marshstone development, all of the people that I talked to in the village have been aware of it all along. But this hillside ordinance change is new, right? And you've done a good job of communicating this. You noticed the hillside change in the main newsletter, and that's when I became aware of it. Now we're here. And I would really just ask you to not be frustrated by the community's involvement here, but really embrace it and hear what people are saying. But you're doing a good job with the communications, and this is success. I understand we need to grow. We all understand we need to grow. I think that's why we haven't had any opposition up until now. We started talking about making a change to accommodate the developer. And I know we have problems, that's most importantly our water infrastructure. And I know that there are some things in this development that will help us solve those problems. But that situation also makes us vulnerable to manipulation by the developer. They know this just as well as we do. And I think that they are using it as a negotiating tactic. That's absolutely what I would do. It's in their shoes. So we encourage the board to bear that in mind. I frankly just don't find the threat to back out of the deal credible at this stage. I don't think it's credible. The comments that I'll reiterate from last week are that we live on Brewery Creek. We've lived there for 20 years. It's wonderful. When we first moved in, you could literally just step across the creek to go commiserate with the neighbors, and now it's widening and widening. We have terrible runoff that gets worse with every year. Property is literally washing away every time there's a storm. It's taken down trees that have knocked down my shed. It's taken down my neighbor's fence. And the best story I can tell about this is that last year, the runoff in a storm caused a tree to topple and hit my neighbor's house. And she was elderly, and that was the last straw for her, right? She moved out after that. So this these things have a real practical impact on those of us who already live in the village. And one of the things that I asked last week is that I was hoping to hear some discussion in the planning meeting about mitigants to help to address the runoff issue. I really didn't hear any discussion. So I don't feel like that concern was addressed. And so because of that, and because I don't feel that the developer's threat is credible, I'm encouraging you to vote against the ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Kobe Calder, I live at 3011 Thinnet Street. I live right next to development. I always believed in if you didn't like what's going next to you, you should buy it. Well, my lottery ticket never came in, so I didn't buy it. People wouldn't like me either because I would have had dirt bike trails and trails all through that woods for riding off-road vehicles. So they probably wouldn't like me either. But I also know that living here for 65 years, every development that's ever went in, there's people at a board meeting like this complaining that they want to change behind their house because they live there. I understand that, and it's tough for the board to decide that. But if the board here didn't decide all those developments, all those people behind me probably won't have a house in this village to complain about this development. And when the next development goes inside that one, those people will probably be complaining about that development. We need the water tower. The gentleman is right. I'm on the fire department for 35 plus years. I know where there's lack of water in this town. We need a water tower. If they're willing to help us out with that, that's an expensive entity. We need that. That's not just a must. We need that. And that would really help out the village. As far as the creek has never been injured in any development we ever done in this village. The only time it got hurt is when they decided to meander it because it was too straight, I guess. That's the only time I ever seen the creek go into a problem. The pesticides have been on that property for years. There ain't any worse. And if you want to save this area, a golf course is the best thing to do. It's more green space than you can ever have. I'd rather have that than 2,000 houses put on top of that hill. I've been on that property when I was a kid, like 12 years old, snowmobiling. It ain't much of a hill. So if you set the setback to 50, I heard the gentleman talk. He would lose $8 million in 50 feet. I'm telling you, there's not a person in this building would like to have that investment and lose that much money. I'm telling you, it's worth it to let them build it, build a golf course, and after it's all said and done, everybody go, yes, that ain't too bad, just like everything I ever seen in this village before. So please let the gentleman build this building. I'm looking forward to it. I've been watching the development every day. I walk my dog there and watch what's going on. Change is change, and that's what we got. Please look forward to letting the builder do what he needs to do.
Thank you.
Christie. Duchette, who?
Yeah.
You know who you are.
Thanks so much. Oh, so I forgot my notes, but I'm gonna try to do this the best that I can. So first of all, I do want to thank you all. Like, I can't even imagine this decision and all the things that go along with it. I'm very new to this whole subject. I only came to the planning meeting last week. And then I had the luxury of running across Jay on one of my walks. And I got a perspective, which I was really appreciative of, just the more history of it all. Because, I mean, I'm an earth lover and I want to protect nature as much as I can. I do understand growth has to happen and I want it to be healthy and smart growth. And I guess what I want to bring up is like the lesson that you learned with Scenic Valley, I believe it was, Jay, of like, you thought you had it in the bag, like they could only buy 10 slots, but then somehow or another, like that one developer got all of it, right? Hard lesson to learn. You don't want to make that mistake again. And I guess that's what I asked, like, if this is all going to go through, the wisdom of like looking from the future. People are like, oh, it's 38 years old. Well, it's an old rule. It's conservative. It needs to be changed. Well, I'm in my 40s, and if I started at 38 saying, well, I mean, I'm old enough now, like I'm just gonna not take care of myself and just let everything kind of slide and not exercise or eat right. I mean, I'm gonna have some issue. Health of me is going to change. And I feel that same way about land. I mean, the health of the land, we all are part of it, and we can't separate ourselves from it. And so I think development has to happen, but if you go about it smart and in a healthy way. And
I don't necessarily know all the ins and outs of him, what they're gonna lose if you keep the 150 feet as it is. But I think that would be a wise choice for the future. I say go with the development, but like keep that in place. Because it means something. You're like standing behind something. That's how I see it. Anyway, okay, is there anything else? Hold on a second. Sorry, so yeah. The health of the bluffs and the hills are something that will make this town, I said this last week at the meeting. Well, there's a lot of development going on around Madison and it's almost getting like overdeveloped, right? It's overwhelming. And I feel like in the future, this is going to be the place that everyone wants to live because it's not like that. And so I asked you to look at it from that perspective of the wealth and the pricelessness of these bluffs not being impacted at this time. Thank you.
Thank you.
The last slip I have just says Michael.
All right. I wanted to thank the board for,
Please state your name and address.
Michael Reynolds. I live just outside Cross Plains at Bigwood. So thank you guys for hearing, allowing this comment period. I understand I'm not in Cross Plains proper and that frustrating, whatever, but anyways, my name is Michael. I've come here to do something I despise, speaking in front of people to protect something I love. The plan to change the setback ordinance in pursuit of a golf course in the Marchstone development poses a direct threat to the cornerstones of our community. Our rolling hills and Clear Creek foster our community as a thriving hub for culture and recreation. These attempts to belittle the creek and its watershed can only be made by those who do not appreciate the rarity of clean flowing water in southern Wisconsin. I challenge those who support the golf course and the Marchstone development to travel to Madison Lake and take stock of the water. It is undesirable for swimming. Black Earth Creek ranks among top 100 Class 1 trout streams in the country. This is no accident. It's a result of decades of partnership with farmers, communities, and citizens. Betraying the creek in favor of developers and golfers is short-sighted for our community. We sell off to try and appeal to be like the other forgettable communities like Fitchburg, Verona, and Sun Prairie, who have traded natural beauty for a larger tax base. We're gonna lose what we are. When people, this is harkening to someone else, but what people see in Cross Plains is our beauty, and they appreciate that it's a small town. We try and become like the other towns, we're not. It's not gonna be the same. The economic value of the development golf course, of course, are eclipsed by the recreational value of the creek. We attract people to our businesses and events because of our size and appearance. We should be celebrating and encouraging what makes us different, not trying to be like the others. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
All right, can we check to see if
Yeah,
someone would like to speak that's on the
looks
internet?
like Jeff would like to speak. Jeff, if you want to come off of mute and state your name and address.
Sure, can you hear me now?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, my name is Jeff Postal and I live at 2522 South Elmwood Circle East in Cross Plains. I want to say thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight on the proposed changes to the Hilltop Protection Ordinance. Although I appreciate the Plan Commission and the board's work on this issue, I am opposed to the proposed changes for the following reasons. I am very concerned that there was seemingly little or no analysis conducted to support and justify this proposal. By analysis, I mean an evaluation of the impacts the proposed changes would have on runoff, erosion, and the scenic qualities of our village. Will the current 100-foot setback proposal adequately prevent runoff and erosion? Do we really know? And if we don't know, how can we move ahead with the proposal? There are tools such as rainfall runoff modeling that can be used to study these issues. I recommend that further analysis be done before such an important decision is made. When I worked for the state of Wisconsin on groundwater quality issues, whenever we proposed rule changes to our board, we presented data and scientific analysis to justify the proposed changes and to explain their impacts. It would have been unheard of to propose a rule change without supporting data and analysis. I understand that the village may not have as many resources to conduct a detailed analysis, but just using a number requested by the developer to make changes to an ordinance that affects the whole village seems woefully inadequate. Yes, a 100-foot setback sounds better than a 50-foot setback, but where is the data to justify 100 feet versus the original 150 feet? I heard a comment at the Plan Commission meeting that we could go ahead and make these changes to the ordinance and see how they work. Well, if we make the changes and they contribute to serious flooding and erosion, that is irreversible. I'm not predicting that that will happen, but I'm saying that with the current lack of analysis, we just don't know. And since we don't know, we should be cautious and do more analysis before moving forward with this proposal. Making changes and later having to say, whoops, I guess we better change it back to 100 feet won't make up for the damage. Our driftless area is littered with gullies from poor farming practices on hilltops and hill slopes from 100 years ago, and we certainly don't want to repeat those mistakes. So in closing, I highly recommend that you put the brakes on this decision until an analysis is conducted to scientifically evaluate the proposed changes. And I believe that such an analysis should be conducted even if it changes the current timeline of the development. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Aaron Koskovich, if you want to come off of mute and state your name and address.
I'm actually here in person.
Oh, perfect. Never mind.
Sorry, I'm a citizen, I apologize.
State your name and address. Mind.
Of course, my name is Erin Koskovich. I live at 3061 Creekside Way here in the village. We've lived in the village for about 13 years, and we, unlike a lot of other folks too, understand that growth is inevitable. We're in favor of additional homes coming in. Folks need housing. Our community is wonderful. Why not share it, right? However, changing the setback rules is a concern. I think there's a lot of ecological impacts that we haven't studied yet and that we aren't fully aware of. And as a real estate broker as well, when my clients are looking at properties and they choose to buy properties, they know that they have to accept the terms and conditions that are on those properties. And so the developer went into this knowing that there were ordinances in place. They knew that there were hoops that they would have to jump through. Jumping in now, asserting power, throwing their weight around, throwing a tantrum is not really acceptable. So I just implore us to think really about the long-term benefits to the community of having the wildlife up there, having a place for prevention of erosion is important. So consider, the village and the residents and let the developer figure out how to solve their problems with the problem they acquired when they purchased the property. Thanks for the time today.
All right, thank you.
Is there anyone else that's online that would wish to speak? I'm not seeing anyone.
All right, good.
I think we're good.
All right, then. Okay, we're at the consent agenda. Upon request of any trustee, any item may be removed from the consent agenda for separate consideration under general business. Anybody have anything they'd like removed? Or separated, not removed, or separated. All right, do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda. Second.
A motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye. All opposed, same. We'll go to report of village officers, village president. Everything I have to say is on the related to items that are in the general business. Vice President?
No.
Other trustee reports, Sarah?
I've been working with the library to, get the Cross Plains Fantastic Sculpture Contest going, so you can watch for more information about that, but it's been a great, collaboration with the library and getting. It's going to hopefully help get some more people into the library as well, so, but it's going to benefit Way Forward. There'll be like constructing sculptures with, non-perishable food items, with small scale sculptures, so.
And then you donate them to,
Yeah, and then people will get to vote by making donations.
oh, cool.
So, I'll be talking to businesses and organizations about that too. So Carly, here's the flyer about that.
Thank you.
And then I had a second thing, I also met with a representative from the Bike Federation of Wisconsin to learn more about e-bikes and electric scooters, and that is an evolving topic. So, I'll be sharing more of the information that, I've been gathering at the Parks and Rec Committee.
Can you share it also with public safety, since they are also looking at that?
Sure, yeah, for sure.
Great. Bill?
Just a quick update, the tourism committee was supposed to meet this Thursday. A couple members could not make it, so we moved that to July 9th.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? All right, village administrator?
Yep, I have a couple of things. So we have made a couple of offers for the Parks and Forestry Manager position. So his name is Sayer, and we are hoping that he will start on the 15th, provided background check and everything works out. So we're very excited to have him on board. So that will be Dane's position that's been vacant since April. And then we also have filled a Public Facilities 2 position. So that was Randy's position. He retired last month. And so their proposed start date is also the 15th. So hopefully next week we will have fully staffed public facilities and Parks and Rec. So.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll go to village department heads or other reports, anything from back there? Okay, seeing a lot of nods. All right, we'll go to general business. Number 1, discussion and possible action regarding the Black Earth Creek Watershed Association regarding proposed portable 3D watershed model project. Mary. Bobby, can you make sure that mic time was on?
It might go on. Hi, thank you, for having me. My name is Mary Devitt. I live at 4437 Downham Pass. I don't know if you need to know that.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, I'm here on behalf of the Black Earth Creek Watershed Association to talk to you about a 3D printed portable tabletop size model of the watershed. And it will offer, as you can see in the picture up there, it'll offer a bird's eye view of the entire watershed. Sometimes people don't even know what a watershed is. They think about the creek, but they don't think about what happens. All the creeks that feed into Black Earth Creek. So we're looking at everything from the town of Middleton, where the headwaters of Black Earth Creek are, all the way through our communities to beyond Mazomanie, where the Blue Mounds Creek, where it enters Blue Mounds Creek and that flows into the Wisconsin Lake. So just understanding the whole watershed is part of what this 3D model will allow to see. And we think that it's a kind of a missing piece in all of these, in all of the thinking about Black Earth Creek and the water and where we live, because obviously Plains is very central to the watershed. And it's a valuable resource showing the boundaries and it shows the potential, it can show the potential impacts of things like severe storms, rain events. Will be able to pour water on, you'll be able to look at where it's going. It'll have landmarks so you can see where things are, all the communities, the major roads, sort of the boundaries of the towns. But mostly people can see where they live in the watershed. And we had we talked about it at Proud Days this year. And it was incredible, the amount of support, that people had for something like this. Now, it would be presented, it would, first of all, the 3 libraries in our communities, were the first ones to say, we wanted to support that. Because they can see that it's something that the libraries could display. And people can come and look at it, whether they're coming here to recreate, whether they're coming here to study, or anybody, and it will go to town meetings, village meetings like this, because it is so portable. It will move around the entire watershed. So what I'm here to ask you, well, and the other thing I wanted to say about it is, this is one really tangible way to see how our communities are all connected. And both from a recreational and tourism aspect to definitely the ecological impact of what happens in the creek and whole watershed. So we've been fundraising and we're almost at our goal. And we wanted to include the village of Cross Plains, every community from Middleton down to Mazomanie has already supported it. And I just didn't have a chance to ask Cross Plains yet. So here's my chance and here's your opportunity. So we would like to, if we would like to ask for a donation of $1,000 to $1,500, and the entire project is $15,000. It'll last for years. Assuming that nothing terrible happens to it. And it'll be a resource for use. So we would ask for that amount if you can talk amongst yourselves and see if you'd like to support it. We hope that you do. And we hope that you would see what a value it would be. And we'd like to work with you on finding ways to make it available.
All right, does anybody have questions for Mary? I have one. What's the system of checking it out? Is Beckwith gonna do it, or are you gonna let a library manage the use of it?
We're going to let the libraries do what they do best. And check things out, and it won't be just at one library. It will be at any 3 libraries in the system. So it'll be housed in a place where it'll always be available. You might have to go to Blackwood to see it. But that's something that we'll figure out the exact
So it
schedule.
potentially could be 4 months at each one, so
Right.
people know ahead of time who to contact
Exactly.
to check it out.
Exactly.
Sarah?
Is there potential for bringing it to schools?
Absolutely.
And that's something that maybe like, when Beckwith, are they considering like
Oh,
bringing it in?
well, yes, and working with staff to have curricula. So the potential, we haven't even really tapped into that, although one of the members of our board teaches in Mount Cora. And she's already working on ways that it can be used as a tool for students.
Jed?
How will you transport it?
It's small enough to fit into the back of an SUV. And that's why we made it 3 by 4 feet and not any bigger. And it'll come with, we'll have a case for it, so it'll be protected. We just talked to the fabricator today about the kind of case that it would have. And we said, we live in Wisconsin, we have winter, and we want it to be safe. So it will be, that's how it will be transported.
Anybody else?
I'll make the motion to donate $1,500 to Beckwith for the 3D model.
All right, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, I have a motion and a second discussion. Okay, I don't know, Cameron, did you raise your hand? You want to speak?
Motion.
No, okay, Bill, did you want? I thought I saw hands go up, I just can't.
Just, want to know where the money's gonna come from.
Well, I'm guessing it'll probably come from, our fund balance, but we probably are going to be under budget with salary savings that could come out of, since we've had a number of positions that have been open. And we obviously budget 100% of those salaries, so I think there's salaries, so I think it'd be able to work within this budget somewhere. And probably Parks and Rec might be a place it comes from, since we have openings there.
Yep, we do have
So there's
quite a bit
gotta
of
be
vacancy
some
savings.
revenue in the salary line item.
Okay.
That's where I would, but I'll leave that up to Bobby, but I think we should be able to cover it fairly easily.
Fantastic.
Well, we gotta vote yet, Mary. Not yet, pretty close. All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, the same. You got it.
Fantastic.
All right.
Okay.
Here we go. Discussion and possible action regarding emergency medical service agreement. I will update you. So all of the recommendations from our attorney were incorporated. It has passed all 3 township boards, so we are the last. So we passed it last month with conditions of those changes. Those changes have been made. So I think we're good to go, and we can put this one to bed.
I'll make a motion to approve the amendment of the restate agreement for the emergency medical service with Cross Plains Area Emergency Medical Service District.
I'll second.
All right, have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same. I just wanna make one comment after this. This has obviously been a very long road, and I know some of you, by reading body language, it has been difficult at times. I just wanna say that I thank you for trusting me and supporting the process to get where we got today. It's good. Future boards are gonna be very, very pleased. All right. Next one. Discussion and possible action regarding resolution declaring an official intent to reimburse expenditures for the Park Street Utility and Street Improvement Project.
Brian's coming over.
In short, it can also always take questions. The village has been, long-range planning for work on Park Street for the better part of a decade. It is currently broken into 3 pieces. About $1.2 million per piece. Similar to Brewery Road, we have submitted what's called an intent to apply, ITA, back in the fall for a portion of the project to the DNR to obtain most of the funding through their sewer and water funding programs. The next steps for those are what you see in front of you tonight is a resolution stating that the village is interested in doing a project. He was aware that you are beginning the process of applying for loans for the work. The first loan will be applied at June 30th, the drinking water portion, and there'll be another loan applied for on September 30th for the sewer portion. This comfort resolution is what DNR requires to state. We know there's a project, we know we're going to be applying for funding, and we know that it's a loan. We'll have to pay it back. The key numbers here, key number is in section 2. Where you're listing what is not expected to exceed, that's 2.5 million on change. Just to give yourself some flexibility, I always apply for chunks of that, so when we submitted this in October of last year, I just included phase one and phase two. You do not have to do that. And that's not really a question for tonight. Tonight is to pass the resolution that you do wanna pursue borrowing. You understand that that's paying back, and that's capped at that number. We're certainly welcome to change that number, but that is for two phases. That's what we'd be asking for, discussion and approval.
Just question, is it, we're saying that we have this intent, right? If we change and decide, let's say, for the sewer part, we wanna pay cash. Are we obligated by sending that in, or we still have an option?
No.
This is just saying, okay,
The intent of this specific action tonight is to really make sure all the elected officials understand that there's a project coming up that you intend to do, you're not committing to do it. That you intend to apply for sewer funds in September and water funds in June coming up. And that you need to pay them back.
okay,
They've gotten in trouble now. So this.
yeah, no, understood. Any questions from? Go
So
ahead.
this is essentially a promissory note.
No, this is more of a, I'm going in eyes wide open to start exploring promissory note. Your next action as a community will not be until late this fall, when you decide you do or do not want to go to bid for the project. After that, you would accept the bids. And then you submit those to the DNR in like February, March of 2027. The bid results, so they would create a loan that you would actually close on, just like buying a house in May of 2027. So this is step one of a dozen steps.
All right, Michael,
I had a question, because this has been broken up into steps, but we've never decided if we want to do 1, 2, or 3 all at the same time with the cost savings that we have. We've never actually had a formal discussion about that. I mean, doing the whole road at one time, we might see a cost savings if we're buying pipe in bulk, et cetera. We've never had a discussion of it.
I'm trying to figure out, did we, when we approved the design, was it for all 3 phases?
Just for
Or-
phase one.
That's what I thought. That kind of is an indication.
That Brian recommended doing it in phases. I thought that's why we did it, no?
I suggested that mostly because I didn't think community was up for a $4.5 million effort. Michael is correct, there's some economy of scale, but sometimes it becomes a cash flow. To be clear, in order to make the loan payments on one phase, you likely need rate increases. At least on the water side and potentially the sewer side. So that's step 5 and 6 of the 12 step.
Yeah, I'm, like I say, I'm agreeing with 100% on the water side, the sewer, we just said this. We'll see what happens with the report this fall.
Okay, so I'm.
Well, no, I think we can move forward with this. And if you wanna bring that up at the next meeting, we can, because we can always submit another, and we can change the number, correct?
Well, that's.
What's the deadline on that?
We need to move that number up and then we're good if we want to do all 3 phases.
Well, it gets a little more complicated than that because you would end up having 2 loans. You have 1 loan for this number and another loan for the incremental extra. So it's definitely possible. That's where those wants to go. But you wouldn't. We can't do all 3 under 1 loan. because
Okay.
I applied for an idea of a loan back in October.
Gotcha.
That caps it at 2.5.
Okay. Bill?
So. You had me till about 30 seconds, and then you lost it. So there's three sections of Park Street that we're talking about too. Okay. And we're talking right now, this is just for part one. So this means we're going to take out a loan to get at a max of $2.5 million. Then we have to do this again for part two, which is another loan. Then we have to do it again for part two.
Yes, at some point in the future, all three are on your long range plan, as are a number of other projects that are on your long range plan. So it's really up to the community how you want to compress that or stretch that out to best the cash flows costs.
Okay. But we don't have any timelines for, if this is phase one, looks like, well, first of all, let's start there. When would phase one actually start? Would they start in 27 or start in 28?
It would be constructed in 27.
Okay, all right, and then. Before I got here back on the board, would we talk about whether phase two or phase three might happen, or that's just in the future?
Just in the future,
Okay,
not,
Currently, it's back to back to back.
Yeah, that's what I thought in
On the CIP, it's back to back.
Yeah.
okay, so I'm thinking that. I kind of like Michael's idea.
If we're doing year.
Let's
Just
just
do the whole thing, cause it's gonna cause traffic problems down there for certain lots, it's just gonna be the entire.
Okay, you understand, there's more to it than just sewer and water pain. Because we're talking about curb and gutter and street
Right,
and storm water, so there's a ton of money here, we're talking about a major. Investment, and not that I'm necessarily opposed, but we clearly don't have the numbers. To look at what effect the payment schedule is, and it'll clearly potentially affect other projects.
is that possible? Well, if you're talking back to back years, is it possible to have some numbers for next month?
We have a meeting in 2 weeks, go ahead.
if there's interest in exploring options beyond just a single phase and construction in 27, what I would suggest is, then proceed with this resolution still tonight, which again is just the board saying we want to do a project. We know it's gonna require borrowing and we know for that. That's all this is. And then at the June 22 meeting, Bobby and I can chuck some numbers together. Cause I had those all broken down for all of the payments, the general fund, sewer fund, and water. And we could just, get a 20-year loan and 2.5% and get some of the numbers in front of this group to see if you want to pursue it. It is not too late to design it for 27 construction. It's not too late to build it in 27, 1, 2, or 3 phases, but it would more be a financial question.
All right, so what would be the damage if you made that 4.5 million versus 2.5?
The DNR wants that to be 2.5 because that was the intent to apply in October.
Because they're,
But-
okay, they're planning their monies,
But
okay.
as a community, you can simply approach them and say, hey, we've said 2.5, we're really comfortable with. Pick a number, but for now. To keep the DNR's desired paperwork train going, I would suggest put a pin in the 1 or 2 phases for tonight, because that's not needed for the resolution.
Okay. Go ahead, Cameron, and then Ed.
Can you remind me the benefit of the Clean Water Fund? Is it like, it's a match, right, from the DNR?
No, it's a loan program.
Okay.
So the benefit is that it's subsidized rate.
Okay.
So right now you're about 2.2% and Wall Street's closer to 5 or 6.
Yeah.
It also allows you to choose either a 20-year term or a 40-year term. Wall Street's telling you a 10-year term. So it's just cash flow.
And then, if we were to commit to 3 phases, that would be a likely steep hike in water and sewage rates to account for a higher potential loan when we got to step 6.
A larger hike. I'll link to term of this week, but definitely larger than what the same.
I mean, so I mean, but it is difference between. Step versus a larger step, but with a lower bottom line project cost. Potentially.
Go ahead, Jed.
I move that we approve the resolution declaring official intent to reimburse the expenditures for Park Street utility and street improvements.
I'll second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same, so moved. Thank you, Brian. Okay, we got discussion and possible action regarding new village hall. Police department will take them by the letter. A, go ahead, Carly.
Yep, so every month I provide a memo, just on the construction update, everything that has happened in the last month. So as of, our last meeting was on the 11th, so foundation insulation was completed all around the building perimeter. And then if you take a look today, you'll see some exterior sheathing, insulation that's, being put on the sides of the building as well. So they're trying to get, working towards getting the whole building enclosed. They have the structural steel installed for the community room, and the main entrance as well. So they have the entrance decking installed, and then they're working on the storefront framing. So the windows that are going to be around that main entryway, all of the glass. And then they have been working on the roof decking installation, and then working on getting, things prepared for all of the rooftop mechanical equipment. And then, they finished the stair installation as well. So you can now get from the basement all the way up to the first floor, and continue to rough in mechanical, electrical, and plumbing as well. Other items, so that keying meeting was back on April 28th. So finalizing all of the key card and hard key needs throughout the building. And then as far as cameras and key card access and audio visual and security, so all of those materials have been put together and are going out for bid. We received one bid already, and that opening will be on the 19th on I don't know where I am, June 19th. And then with a hopeful bid award at the June 22nd Village Board meeting. That's my construction update.
All right, thank you. Bob, you want to do finance update, please?
Yep, so I put in the latest, the pay up that's on the agenda is not included in this, nor are the change orders. And then for the 2026 borrowing, we'll authorize that in July. And I think we're gonna award it early August.
Yes,
July,
around
August, we'll
then,
do the
yeah.
borrowing for 2026 for all projects. Timeline.
Okay.
And then we ordered some of the materials for the little rest area that's gonna be paid with grant funds. We got that.
All right, so does anybody, I should have done, does anybody have any questions for Carly or Bobby on the A and B? All right, we'll go to C, change order. Matt, you want to come up and? You have a list of them, so we're gonna go through each one of them, so everybody has a clear understanding of what they are, because I don't have actually a clear understanding on all of them. So we'll start with the first one. Matt, what I'd ask is if you could just summarize what it is exactly.
Absolutely. So with any project, an unfortunate reality is change orders. The budget that was prepared, does include, a contingency, right? So we assume going in that there will be changes in, the contract value, that occur throughout. And those typically fall within sort of three categories. And so we've broken this letter down into sort of three sections that really sort of summarize those. So the first section is going to be code related. As we're designing the project, it is the architects and engineers, obligation to interpret the building codes, but when we go to get a state plan review and get permitted, we are at the discretion of the plan plan reviewer as to how they interpret the codes, and so sometimes, they will say a condition of approving this plan review is, you need to change this, add that, whatever. So these first two items do fall under that code required section. So the first is specifically the state plan review comments. So at the beginning of the project, we submitted all of the final design plans to the state for their review. And they came back with, a modest number of changes. There are, within that, there were some things that were changes that were in addition to the contract amount, and there were some things that were a credit. So the things that were an addition, they required, again, their interpretation of, the stair out of the lower level that goes up into the police station. They wanted some added exit signs. So there was a slight cost increase related to that. But this is overall a credit of $8,918 to the project. And the primary reason for the credit is in designing the roof mounted solar equipment. We had areas where the solar panels, we were trying to maximize the amount of coverage on the roof. The plan reviewer came back and with their interpretation saying they consider roof mounted solar to be the same as any roof mounted equipment, and therefore we're going to enforce that we could not have any solar panels that got any closer than 10 feet from the edge of the roof. So as a result of that, we had to slightly reduce the amount of solar panels on the roof, maintain that 10-foot clearance, which is intended for safety of any workers that are up there doing maintenance, not being too close to the roof edge. So with that reduction of some of the solar on the roof, it offset some of the additional costs. So again, you're looking at a credit of $8,918.79.
How many solar panels did we lose?
Don't know that number off the top of my head, Jay, but I can certainly get that for you.
Okay, that would be helpful.
The second item then is one of those items that is a cost increase in the amount of $9,188.36. So the bioretention basin, stormwater management that is on the north side of the site was designed with a clay liner at the bottom by JSD, our civil engineers. Again, through the plan review process, it was determined that clay liner actually needed to extend up the banks of the detention basin approximately halfway. And so this is for the additional clay material that needed to be installed to meet the stormwater requirements for the property.
Any questions from anybody?
So the second category then of sort of cost changes, we typically attribute to what we would either call field conditions or shop drawing coordination. So field conditions, pretty self-explanatory, things that come up during construction that are a constructability issue. It was intended to be constructed one way for one reason or another. There's a need to change that. Again, sometimes those are a credit, right? We find a less expensive way to do it. Other times, it's an additional cost to the project. And so we work very hard to make sure that any claims for those types of costs that come from the contractor, we've fully vetted and make sure that the village is getting fair value for those. So the first one, I'm sorry, and then the second item are shop drawings. So we require the contractor to basically produce shop drawings. That is a submittal that they have looked at the requirements, and it's kind of the final check, right? As your advocates, for us to be able to look at that and say, yes, that is what it was intended. Go ahead and put that into production and order that material, so that it doesn't show up to the job site and it's wrong. So we go through that shop drawing process. So this first one was one of those field conditions. Again, as they started excavating for the water service connection, it was actually determined that there is an existing water service on the right side of the road that could be tapped into rather than extending the service from the south side of Bergen Road. And so again, working with Town and Country, we're reviewed by village engineers as well as our civil engineers. Was determined there was a more cost-effective way of making the water service connection, so this is a credit, as you can see. Second item, elevator electrical change. As we're putting this together, the bid specifications for a project, we select a basis of design for an item such as an elevator. Public bidding, and we have to allow for competition, and so we will say basis of design is a Tyson Krupp elevator, but we'll allow a Schindler and Otis or right? So there's competition built into the bid. As we're designing, and then we design the project around that basis of design. So our electrical engineers are looking at what are the electrical requirements for that specific elevator. In this instance, the elevator contractor on bid day decided that an alternative but acceptable and approved elevator was the product that they were going to go forward with. The electrical contractor on bid day has no way of knowing which elevator the elevator contractor is going to bid. With the different elevator came a slightly different electrical requirement, and so this is a cost from the electrical contractor to provide a slightly different circuit breaker that matches the requirements of the elevator that is going to be installed. As you can see, it's an additional cost of about $650. The next item, again, I mentioned the shop drawing process. And so when we got the shop drawings for the glazing, this one is specifically for the interior glazing on the project. We recognized that there was an error in the construction drawings that the contractors put their bids together around. We have security glazing at areas like the front counter for both the village hall as well as the police department. And through a technical error, right, that higher specification glass got applied to all of the glass on the inside of the building. So the glass in the door, into somebody's office, it's behind sort of that secured line. Doesn't need that level of security glazing. And so through the shop drawing process, we identified that they were using a higher quality glass in areas that it was not necessary. And so we went back to them and said, we need to change this out to standard tempered glass in the areas that it was intended to be used. And so that was a credit to the contracted amount of about $12,600.
So we still have bullet resistant glass at the counter.
Correct. Yep. Okay. This is just the back of house way that it does not need that level. The second item, this one's a little bit more difficult to explain, but it has to do with field coordination. So two-story building, we have some supply ductwork that goes from rooftop equipment on the roof down to the lower level. We sized on structural plans penetration through the concrete floor for that duct to pass through there. And then to make that penetration, aesthetically pleasing, right? We enclose it in walls. And to make those walls just kind of line up with the geometry of the offices and whatnot around there, the walls, the shaft, right, is a little larger than the actual penetration that the duct work is passing through. There was a misunderstanding about some of the other duct work that is in that shaft. The mechanical engineers thought the penetration was the full size of the shaft, not just limited to the supply duct. And so in the field, they realized we're not going to be able to route some of the exhaust fan duct work from the basement to the roof like we thought. So we had to find an alternative route for it to bring it out to the sidewall of the building. So some additional material is needed to make that happen.
I guess I'm just asking, why are we responsible for that?
Sure.
I mean, I can understand the clay part, right? No one knows, they come in and say, hey, you gotta put more clay in to meet code. But on this here, it seems like this was an error on someone's part on the design side of it, or.
Sure, which is again, why we have a contingency, right? Because we assume that there will be some things that, you know, that through the cracks, right? And so, our thought on this is, right, the approach is, the village is not paying for anything that they wouldn't have otherwise paid for on bid day. You're not paying for any work to be undone that was already done. You're not paying for, you know, a duplication of work. You're just paying for the additional ductwork that's required to go out the side that would, had it been in the drawings, you would have paid for on bid.
Well, then we wouldn't have paid for the hole that we're not using anymore.
No, the supply duct is still running through that hole. This is just an exhaust fan duct that needed to be rerouted.
Okay. And is it gonna change the building itself? Are we losing space, or is it gonna make it less efficient?
No,
Okay.
you won't notice any operational changes as a result of this. Okay, so proposal request number 13 is basically the same as proposal request number 5, except this time it's the exterior glass. So again, an error in the final documents applied the safety glass requirement to all exterior glass rather than just some of the glass at the main entry area. And so again, through the shop drawing process, we realized that that was an error, and so we pursued getting a credit for the village to change all of the exterior glass to the, you know, regular insulated, you know, glazing that it should have been. So I mentioned again, you know, some of the field conditions, working with the contractor. We had detailed a handful of steel lintels above some of the exterior 9-door locations. And they came to us and said, you know, we're building these walls out of masonry. We could construct these lintels out of you know, concrete masonry above these doors and save the steel cost. And so that was a slight reduction of $600.
I'm not sure what a lintel is.
So a lintel is just a structural member that basically spans from one side of an opening to another. And so you can either do that out of a piece of steel and then the masonry would bear on that, or you can use that, you can use concrete and, you know, basically form a concrete bond beam over that opening. So. And then the final category of sort of change order types, we would call owner requested, right? And so we understand that during construction, you know, it's as things are coming together, there are things that, you know, somebody may say, you know, we'd like to add this to the project, right? And so the first item here is some additional interior signage. So there were 4 room signs that, you know, are pretty nominal cost. The room sign is, you know, $100 each or something like that. Big cost here is some aluminum dimensioned letters above the community room. So as you come into the entrance of Village Hall and Police, directly ahead of you is the sort of Village Hall service counter. Above it, it's got some cut aluminum letters above it, you know, that say Village Hall. Above the police counter, there are letters that say Police Department, and the request here was to add similar letters above the community room, designating it as such, just to create that symmetry, I guess, of the space. So this is an addition of about $2,800.
Okay,
I want to ask. Yeah. I want to ask one question too.
Well, go ahead and ask the question.
Yeah. So my question was about those additional room signs. Because I was under the impression that those were like ADA required, like to have the braille kind of. When I was talking with Courtney, that was what was required. So I don't know that we requested those signs. And then for the aluminum dimensional letters, I was just talking with some members of the core planning group this morning, and I think the intention was always to have signage saying community room. But we never saw a rendering of what that looked like. But,
All right.
so that's what, those were my questions.
Well, okay, I'm okay with the 4 signs, you know, the bathroom, interview room and stuff like that.
Sure.
I'm more concerned with the $2,400 to put a name of community room. I think we could go with just a little sign that says community room. I don't know if we need the big 13-inch letters across the top that say community room. I mean, I wasn't consulted on that, and it just seems like that. I understand the village and the police, but the community room is just identified as any other room, and I think a small sign that says community room would be, that's just my personal opinion. It seems like it's a lot of money for these big letter signs when I don't see it as the same as the police department or village hall. I see it, it's identifying the room, so I'd be satisfied with just a small placard that says community room and the other conference room, whatever we call that, conference room, instead of the big individual letters. That's. Go ahead, what are other people's thoughts? Go ahead.
I think a bigger sign is probably fine, like, it's not like this room, like, it's really big. And we've talked about like that space being used for voting and like a whole bunch of other things, so like. It kind of makes sense when you walk in, village, police, oh, but I need to go to the community room because that's where I vote or whatever.
Okay.
I'm fine with the smaller sign that just shows where all the rooms are, it's probably the same size, because people know that they're going there for a village board meeting or whatever it is, I'm fine with them saving the money. I'm fine with saving the money.
Bill.
Well, I am a, you know, that show that used to be on, you What Not to Wear. That's where I am with this. I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, fair enough. No, that's fine. Sarah?
You know, the expense, I mean, gosh, I think about like, we built our house and some of these things that they're so expensive, but at the same time, if you don't do it, you'll never do it, because you're never gonna spend that much money on a sign, or I like a picture, you know, things like that, but I don't know, I just think about the cohesiveness. I wish I could see a picture of it to see what it would look like, because I think there is something to be said for a cohesiveness of the signs, because then, I don't know, when you walk into a building and you see all these same size signs, it is very directional for you. I think it serves a purpose. I don't think it's just for aesthetics.
Well, that would be the only room that would be the big letters. The rest of the rooms have small ones.
No, well,
Yeah, it's the windows that have the big sign across them.
I know, that's what I'm saying, like, it's hard without a visual.
Okay, Jed?
I don't know, I'm still stuck on it. Feels like we get nickel and dime for everything that we change, and then the things that they miss, it's part of our contingency. I don't think a contingency fund is for things that they missed.
Michael?
So this lettering won't match the village hall and police department signs?
It will.
Well, yeah, okay, you said something about windows, so.
No, that's, so when you walk into the lobby, straight ahead, over the window.
Over.
Is gonna say Village Hall.
Okay.
When you look to the right, there's gonna be another window, and it's gonna say Police Department. Why?
To the left.
If you look to the left, there's a door.
Well,
Yeah, it's a door. It's a door. Just like the room next to it is a conference room, just like the rooms next to them are bathrooms, and on the other side of Village Hall, there's a conference room that all have small signs. We don't have this big layout. I understand where people are coming from, you know, but you know, I'm looking at this about $2,400 for signage there. That's, if I'm hearing your numbers right, the other signs are about $100 a piece. And these, I'm guessing they're so expensive is because they're custom made individually and the install costs.
Right, I mean, it is a custom made.
I'm fine.
awesome.
I don't know, I mean, I like your idea of being that's like the one major room, it's gonna be at least that, or are you going to the community room, smaller ones or smaller, but these are the three that are really the three that are gonna tell you where you're going. When you walk into the building. That's why the matching. Tells you where you're going.
Alright, can we just see, show of hands who wanna keep it as is?
We mean keep it as is.
The lettering that's recommended here in the change order.
Which is the.
No, 24, okay, we're going ahead with it then.
And then the last item, we are sort of grouping in as power and technology revisions. So as Carter mentioned earlier, we are getting ready to bid the security and audiovisual package here at the end of next week. As we have been working to finalize those bid documents, we had some additional coordination meetings with the board planning group. At that time, there were some doors that were requested that didn't previously have card readers that were requested to be changed to card readers. And or there was some locations where maybe we were adding, rough in for, a TV type setup or just as we were coordinating those final revisions. Well, the rough in for those items is part of the current construction project, right? So they're putting the conduit in the wall and running the cabling into it so that the security or technology integrator then is, providing the hardware and installing that stuff in the building. So through that final coordination, again, there were some additional locations identified and added, which also included some additional floor boxes in the community room. So those changes to make everything jive with the final decisions on the audiovisual and security package, again, are additional costs for the added materials. Again, we're not undoing anything that was done already. It's just adding to the specifications of $18,000.
One question on this. If I can come up with documentation that shows that we requested the floor outlets, the floor power way before all this. Do we have another shot at this? Cause I'm pretty sure we did. On one of the review processes. I just didn't have time with everything else going on to actually backtrack on that, but it feels like I'm pretty confident that from the beginning, we wanted power on the floor for where the board was gonna meet and then where people speak, where we would have to plug in things. Now, again, there are so many reviews and processes may have been, but I feel confident that I might be able to find something, but I mean, I'm not gonna hold that back now, but if I find it, I'm wondering if we would get then a partial credit.
Certainly, we can have that discussion.
Okay. Cameron?
Are the floor boxes, the floor boxes are the majority of this 19,000, or is it the card reader, the additional card readers?
The floor boxes are a fairly significant piece of it. I don't have the backup with me, but I would guess that they are probably in the ballpark of half of that number. Floor boxes are not an inexpensive item.
That's electrical and audio?
Correct, yeah, power and data.
For
How many spots?
There were 4 additional spots added.
Yeah, there was 3 up by where the, wasn't it?
One in the voting.
Nice.
Yeah, well, was that where I thought it was, yeah.
That was why we added those. Was for voting machines.
Because when we did the layout of how we're gonna have voters coming out, we realized because of the windows, there weren't outlets where we were gonna put the camera. So we had to run extension cords.
Okay, so are the ones for,
Podium and the dais are all included.
okay, well, that's what I didn't know we added for, okay, well, then I'm not gonna find that.
Makes sense, so.
Yeah, well, it's because there weren't any outlets on the wall with the windows, and so then we were like, oh, well, there's not outlets there.
Are they floor to ceiling windows?
Not for us, no, but there's not like. So yeah, there's no outlets on the wall under the windows.
Okay.
So we just put them all on the floor then.
Cameron?
I wanna talk about it here, but would it be worth having a closed session topic in 2 weeks to talk about the doors that were added and why for the card readers?
I don't know. if
Well,
that-
we can do that right now if we want.
Well,
I mean, there's no secret to it.
well, we went with closed session for review floor plan for security reasons.
Right, but we're
So
just
now we're
talking,
talking about which now new doors are locked and not locked with card readers. I don't know. It seems like something that we don't wanna have a public conversation on, but. I could be wrong. I'm not an expert in closed meeting rules. But we did so to review the floor plan, so.
no, we did, but. Would it matter if we said we added a card reader to the gym? Or we added the card reader to the police lieutenant? I mean, no one can place all that. I'm trying to even think of where the card readers were placed. I don't know, do you remember?
Bring them up, I apologize, but,
Wasn't it for like the police stairwell?
No, we didn't go with that, remember?
Yeah, we decided not to go with that one.
Yeah,
Because that was.
that was definitely one of them, but we did decide not to. I didn't know if we did one to the garage or not. I don't remember. I don't think there were that many.
no.
I mean, if it would be helpful, I could send those plans to this group. I mean, if you, or Cameron, if you want to review those. To provide feedback for before the next meeting.
You know, I don't know, we were concerned about $2,400. But then, that's almost $10,000 worth of changes. And I just, I don't know if they are, but, I don't know.
Well, I guess we could, I just don't remember that many. I'm thinking most of this is going for adding the boxes.
Okay.
Go ahead, Bill.
I'm gonna make a motion to approve the change order and they reduced the amount of $3,948.73 as presented tonight in the meeting.
Second.
Okay, hold it. I just need, how'd you say that?
You just,
Give that dollar amount.
Yeah, I know he did, but how did he say it?
Reduced by.
Approved.
It's not reduced.
Presented tonight in the meeting for the total contract reduction of $3,948.70.
It's not going to be a reduction of the contract.
What it says right here.
Oh, we have credits. These changeovers give us a credit
The
of,
total contract amount will be reduced by.
okay,
That's what it says in cents.
okay. I think it would have been, the approval of the change orders probably would have been a cleaner way of doing
He said that.
it. No, that's what I would do, not talking about the dollar amount. That's all included in these change orders, because the change orders we're gonna get another whole wave of these.
Then we approve those.
And we're gonna keep changing the contract up and down.
That's solid.
Okay,
Yes.
all right. All right, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye, all opposed, say so moved. Thank you, Matt.
All right. We have one more new building item though.
All right, E. Payment application number 6.
All right, so payment application number 6 is in your packet here. This is a larger amount tonight. And I have it highlighted for you. And it does match the following materials.
All right, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to pay the $652,016.58 for payment number 6 to Brickell Brothers.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Have a motion and a second discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same. So moved. All right, we're going to Marchstone Development Hillside Overlay Ordinance Amendments. We'll do A is discussion and possible action regarding proposed Hillside Overlay Ordinance revision to section 83.125R, section 83.18, section 84.56 sub D, section 84.95 sub C, and 84.95 sub D. So this is how we're going to do this. The Plan Commission took each section as an individually. That way we aren't gonna get mixed up on what we're talking about, hillside, hilltop edge, whatever. The other part of this is that what was different is we have the developer at the table. Now, during the Plan Commission, I had planned to do that. There was an objection from someone there, so I played it conservative and did not allow that to happen. After consulting with the village attorney, that was an error on my part. Not only is it legal, it is proper to have the developer at the table. So the Plan Commission did not have an opportunity to ask the developer questions. Just so you, that is the difference. You were all at that meeting. I don't know if you picked up on it, but that is why we have what we have. Now, what we're going to do is how we're going to do this is the developer will state what changes they want to the section and why. And you'll have an opportunity to ask questions if you want, and they will respond. They're not going to be part of the discussion. It is question and answer, but they have a right to present what they're asking for and why. So we will start with section 83.125 sub R. Go ahead, Jeff.
Okay, thank you. We don't have a whole lot to add. Everything that we've presented to the village for the last two and a half years, and more specifically within the last 4 to 6 weeks. Except for the request for the buffer to be 50, obviously we have changed that to 100. And as it pertains to this, we have a couple exhibits we'd like to show, if that's appropriate.
Yep.
So it'd be the video.
Sure.
Please, we were asked to possibly create some type of 3D visual. To look at the hilltop buffer zone for this bluff.
When you'd like me to press play, Jeff.
Yeah, just 1 sec, please. Which is basically north or southeast of our phase 1. If you look at the bottom left of that map, that is our phase 1. So what we did is we took photos standing at the intersection of Marchstone and Evergreen. Which would be the blue line. Evergreen and Lindale, which would be the middle red line. And then Marchstone and Shady Street, which would be the 2 lines on the right. Basically, if somebody was standing at those locations, what could that person see at the bluff, assuming a 2-story 35-foot home. As part of this, you'll see we've reduced quite a few lots. We've taken them off the plat. Because even at the 100-foot, we still could not have buildable lots. So really, we are only talking about, and we'll see here as we go a little bit further, maybe 6 or 7 lots. So with that, Carly, please hit play.
Can you adjust that play speed?
Sure.
Just, it goes a little quick sometimes, so the slower you can go.
Here, is this what you want me to do?
And the gear on the bottom, right?
Yeah.
And then go to playback speed.
Yeah.
What would you like that to
Slow
be?
it down.
Go to like 0.25. You can, there's
Minus.
Minus 0.25?
No, yeah, right there.
Keep going. Perfect, thank
Just
you.
like, yeah, you bet.
And get ready when I say stop.
All right.
So this is obviously looking from the top. This is done by our golf course architect. Can you stop right there? Because as this goes through, you're gonna see some rooftops. But the rooftops you're gonna see are gonna be these rooftops, which are not in the 100 or 150. So again, you'll see these, but no matter what happens, if it stays at 150, if it goes to 100, you're still gonna see these houses. Okay?
But I'm sorry, quick question. Which, do you know the lot numbers on those? Is that this little bit here? It's 148, 149, 155? Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking at the from the packet.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Yep.
Ready?
Yep. So if we could stop there, I guess, real quick. So you can see here, before these used to all be lots. But we took them out here, and we took them out here. So if you want to stop there for a second. As planned, this would be our first hole. Our second hole is here, and this is our third hole. You can see all these trees are staying. Like? So this, I believe, is Evergreen and Lindale. Yeah.
So that was it was in phase 1, like
Yes.
that line was coming over.
Yeah, and so you can see up on the bluff, you don't see houses, and those are the houses I was talking.
What's the frame of reference here? Is this like completely flat on the ground, like if you were laying down?
No, I think
from
it's
6 foot, it's
standing.
Standing?
Okay?
Yeah.
So the rendering in the green, that represents trees,
Yes,
and that would be deciduous trees,
it's the combination what's there currently.
which is there's very few pines, so half of the year that visual
Sure,
will the obstruction of the leaves will not be there half of the year.
sure.
Why are there big pieces of silence?
Yeah, I mean. The views are gonna be the same if you want, I'm just gonna keep doing that, it's almost.
The homes seem shorter down the hill along the water there.
Here,
Yeah.
yep,
Is,
those are not in either zone.
no, I know, but
Oh.
I guess I'm just curious why it's assumed those would be one level houses versus 2-story houses. Or is it just,
I think they're all the same, it's just the
Okay.
angle. So now again, these are the lots that we omitted. These are the lot houses that are shown that are outside the buffer zone.
I think that was the end.
Like I said, we don't have a lot to add than just our last exhibit.
Cameron.
it's hard for me to know how. Accurate the rendering is. I mean, I'm still looking at those lots, the ones that aren't impacted, whether it was 150 feet or not. But I guess that plan, I thought it was discussed that 150 feet was based on not seeing a 2-story home at Broadway. But like from that rendering, we could clearly see those homes, but. So I guess I'm not sure what is wrong. Is it that we're not at brow height and we're lower or higher down at the bottom of the hill, or is the rendering not accurate? Like, I don't know.
Well, I don't understand.
Okay, what he's saying is. There's even homes that are outside the 150 can still be seen.
And that was the whole point of the current ordinance.
Well, you gotta remember when that ordinance was passed. They weren't looking at a particular ridge. If you read the discussion, they were looking broad, so it is gonna change depending on how steep the hill is. How tall the person is, how tall the building is. How far out it is. Those all play into it, so it's almost impossible to say what would give that kind of coverage on every hillside in the village. That's why I think you're seeing what you're seeing. They chose 150, but that wasn't guaranteed that you'd never see a house, because at times you can see. I just think on this, I want to make sure we all are using the same terms and understanding, and that goes for people who have spoke, because there's been terms that have been interchanged, and I think it's in this particular case, it's important to know that in the village here, we basically break our landscape into 4 sections. There's the bottom, there's the hillside, there's the hilltop edge, and then there's the hilltop. The ordinances. And there's no restrictions in building just on it on the bottom or the hilltop. What we're talking about today or tonight with this particular section is the hilltop edge defined by the ordinance. And that is the point where in the ordinance they say unslope or the elbow where it starts to level off. You put a steel rod there and you measure 150 feet back. That is what we're talking. That is what in our ordinance defines the hilltop edge. So that's what we're referring to. That in place, as Cameron said, was to do screening. That was the purpose of it. When you talk about erosion and everything else, we have all kinds of ordinance restricting erosions and what has to be done to prevent that. So this particular one is basically the hilltop edge. And what is being asked is instead of at 150 to move it to 100. That is the scope of what we're looking at right now for this one section. Bill.
With that, I love the project, always love the project, very supportive of it. Look forward to seeing it go clear.
Yeah.
However, when we talked about this in plan, I asked about doing a waiver rather than doing an ordinance, and you seem to be pretty adamant that you were not gonna do a waiver on this. I would be supportive of a waiver. I really would. I hinted at it, I didn't hint at it, I said it at the last meeting, that, where you're putting your subdivision, where you're putting these homes and where you're putting these lots, I don't see any distress. But what the thing I'm looking at is future developments. Are they as responsible as you? I can't answer that question. So my question to you then is, why are, you seem adamant not to do a waiver, why is that?
Well, it's the uncertainty. Because that waiver goes along with your final plat. Honestly, we don't feel comfortable spending the time and money to get to that point. Because we can go spend, when I'm done with dollar amounts, we can go spend X.
Right.
With no guarantee. So then we can get, there are numerous options for us, what's best for Kyle and I's family. And the waiver, honestly, is not one, because we can't take that risk.
Okay.
What we're amenable to is a friendly, per the Robert Rules of Order, a friendly amendment. Doing this 100 feet just for March stuff. I think that takes care of a lot of concerns. And that's doable per the Robert Rules of Order.
Well, okay, first of all, Robert rules, it has nothing to do with that. We're looking at an ordinance change. We have a recommendation from plan, but this group can change the ordinance any way you guys want. There is not a rule. We're the final decision making, so there is options. And what he is proposing, I did check also with the attorney that it is not uncommon. We see it in state statute where we all have to follow certain rules, but they allow Milwaukee to do something different. Sales tax is an example. No one else can do a sales tax except for county, state, and the city of Milwaukee. So you can do it. I don't think it's best practice, but there's no legal problem with doing that. And we have that, we ran that by this village attorney. So Cameron.
I don't know if this question is for you guys or if it's for Jay, but bridging off the variance option.
No, waiver.
Waiver, sorry. Oh, maybe that is the difference. So.
Variance is due to hardship.
Okay, well, hold on. Every development since, I don't know, the last 5, right? Are they waivers or variances, but we allow houses to be built closer together than our ordinances allow, correct?
We have given, no, some of that is done in the preliminary plat, and everybody has to understand, this development hasn't gotten to even the preliminary plat, where you work out a lot of the concerns that the citizens have. To answer your question, yes, there have been waivers, we just did it, with Creek Crossing, was it, or
Yeah.
where we made it where they didn't have to have the 25 feet from the sidewalk because there was a corner lot.
We did the same.
We did that for phase 1, waivers for.
Yeah,
phase
oh yeah, phase 1, yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it was for, I'm getting so many developments mixed up. So you're correct, we do that. Now, where Jeff is talking about, you read our ordinance on waivers. Now, we could change the ordinance waiver, not tonight, obviously, but right now, the process is pretty strict on what our process is for doing a waiver, and it comes at the, I don't know if it's final preliminary.
Final plat.
Final plat, okay, it comes at the final plat. So that's the timing, and what they're saying is, well, they gotta get pretty far down the road, and if they don't get it, then they wasted a lot of time and money.
Well, so you don't need-
Okay, okay,
Oh,
go ahead
sorry.
then, Chad.
Sorry, I think it's still the same question. You don't have to get the dollar amount, but then I guess what is the difference between the waiver for this versus the waiver for the setback stuff?
That's a legal question, because we didn't obviously have to do it for phase one. We didn't bring that to the final plat, that was determined prior to the final plat.
I mean the waiver for phase one on the setbacks.
Like, it wasn't at the final plat.
Right, I thought we did it.
I thought we did that preliminary.
I thought we did it at preliminary.
So, I don't know if we did it wrong.
No, well, I don't know, maybe I'm reading the heart.
They zoned it PD, so I don't know if it was a waiver.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been a waiver for zoning.
Zoning.
They should do the
This
zoning.
this is a chapter 83 very drastic versus a zoning change, because those were in land developments, which is a zoning issue.
Okay,
That's the difference.
okay, yeah.
I mean,
Go ahead.
personally, at this point, I'm a little uncomfortable with nobody seems to know what's going on. Is there a rush? I mean, you guys obviously knew about this beforehand.
See, and let me clarify that, because it's not current. It's early on, probably 2.5 years ago, the first meeting we had with the planning commission. We asked for assurances, no guarantees. We probably said it 10 times that night. And the two items we were looking for were steep slope, approximately 8 acres, and tree clearing. That's all that was discussed. In the last 3 months, this hilltop issue has come up. That's on us and the village. I'll be the first one to admit. Why nobody brought it up until about 3 months ago, when that map that you just saw was created. So for everybody to think we're this a bait and switch, it's ridiculous. We don't do that. This only surfaced within the last 3 months. It hasn't been on the drawing board for 2.5 years.
Okay, so what other options do we have? I think that's the.
We have a lot.
Well, can we see them?
No.
Can we talk about them?
Nope. I mean, there's some are, well, I'll just leave, we have options. They're not maybe single family.
I mean, I guess in some of the earlier version that I saw, I mean, couldn't you remove 6 houses somewhere and slide everything up to get you out of the hillside ordinance and then don't need it?
So here's the deal. This is and I've said, you're new, I get it, no problem. But for the people who've been with us since day one. This piece of property is beautiful, and that's one of the reasons we're here debating. We get it. It's the nicest piece of property I've seen in my career of development. But here's the problem. We have a model that we must achieve for our own profitability, be honest, for the golf course. And then you put in the steep slopes. It's it's not like us going to buy 480 acres farm field. We don't have these issues. But once you take into what we need for lots, what we need for the golf course, roads, steep slopes, potential parkside. No, we can't take this area of 8 lots and move it elsewhere.
But in your last rendering, you've already taken out the parkside stuff.
Well, that's a whole different discussion. Yeah, we're not here to talk about that. It's after, a meeting we had, somebody suggested we do that. That's why we did.
And I'm not opposed to it, it's a change. And I think the other issue is we start dealing in these onesies and twosies of little individual things instead of the project as a whole.
No, well, see, the park change has nothing to do with Hillside. So don't even look at it. We're here to
We're
talk
not
about
even,
Hillside.
we're not even discussing Hillside right now. That'll be the next
No
one. Right now,
problem.
we're talking about Hilltop Avenue. That's what we're talking about right now.
Question.
Yeah, go ahead, Michael.
Carly, didn't Sonia, the village planner, bring up these issues earlier on, the hilltop and hillside issue, way longer than 3 months when the project was officially, even phase one was brought in?
Yes, I mean, those conversations were had early on.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
they were known.
Maps were never, yeah.
But I mean, the maps weren't
The
created yet.
ideas were known, it's not like this is 3 months that, oh, you have these things, you knew about these things, like what you were saying. Well, you're making it out like it's an issue that came up.
It is.
It isn't, though. It was before phase one was approved. You knew it was an issue. I'm gonna, with regard to the rendering that you give, I thank you for doing that, but with your angles that you use people being located at streets that are much closer to those roads. As you move further out from those angles, your sight lines get a lot longer, and you start to see further and further up the hill. You just walk over there and you walk over by the junior high, it all flattens out a lot more. Whereas when you're closer down, your sight angle comes out a lot steeper and you don't see things. So you lose, so further distances, things on top of hills become much more visible with a closer setback. That's just a geometry thing. If you actually, I was over there saying, I was standing really close down by Evergreen and Shady Circle, like right down there looking up. I walked up for the junior high and it got a lot further away, got flatter. I could definitely see that the angle changed completely on what you can see from a distance when you're looking up the hill.
Well, I would agree the angle changes, but you take more into view, like look out that window. You can't see the hilltop because there's all kinds of trees in between from where you are. Yes, we're at a much longer angle. And you're right, it's geometry and you can see farther and up, but there's also, most of the time, there's things in the way blocking that isn't part of your future.
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta look at, I'm just playing the other side of it, yeah, you could go 10 miles away, yes.
Well, I mean, from my house, I can look over the middle school and see homes up there, especially in
Right.
winter when the leaves are gone. But I'm way further away, so
Yeah.
obviously I have the geometry part there.
Which brings up a really good point. We're speaking about geometry.
Yeah.
So you talked about at the elbow of the hill, right? Put a sewer island, that's where. right,
Yeah.
You go 150 feet from there. Where on the bottom is that reference to?
The bottom would be hillside, and that's at the 20%.
Okay.
When the slope gets greater than 20%.
Yeah.
Hillside, yeah.
That's where the hillside begins, and it ends at the elbow.
Okay.
Then it decreases below 20%.
Well, so when you're talking going back. You know, a block or a quarter mile. It does changes the geometry of in your exactly what you're looking.
Yeah.
So you've got to take into account where you're standing.
Well, yes.
That's what I was saying. All those places are relatively close. To the distance.
Sarah?
So I was wondering, I mean, this is a question for our village board, how 100 feet was selected? As I was reading through the historical pieces, there was a lot of different pieces a lot of pieces of information map that was used to determine that 150 feet. And since this is an ordinance that applies to the entire village and the extraneous areas, how was 100 feet determined to be the best option for our village?
You mean the 150 original one?
No, the idea of changing it to 100 feet, how is that selected?
It wasn't selected, it's a key question.
Okay, but then how, I guess I'm not quite sure as a village, like how we are to support something that there's not a lot of evidence supporting why that should be applied to the entire village. As an ordinance. This isn't a waiver. It's a change.
No, I understand.
Because it seems like that 100 feet is all specific to this development. And that feels like a conversation we'd have regarding a waiver, not an ordinance.
Well, I guess, yeah, I'm looking at it a little different. If we believe 100 feet is adequate, I don't think there was as much data to say 150 was the key. But to me, if we decide that 100 feet is proper for screening, then yes, it would be going village wide. And I wouldn't have a concern because we've made that decision. Now, having said that, I think it's extremely unlikely because I think we all know the only way this development is working is because of the water infrastructure. And this is not the first time we've tried with that, right? But it's gonna be, we've tried to tie it to a development so we don't have to pay 100%. But we're not gonna have another need for another reservoir for decades. And the only way to get to the top, now if a board changes the rules and say they don't need municipal water or sewer, then I guess everything's open. But if we stick to it where if you're in the village, you need municipal water and sewer, those hilltops and we're not talking about hillsides yet, but they're out of the question because we wouldn't be able to get water to them. We saw that when Veridian was going to build here at the same property. We talked about it, they were willing to pay 50% of a reservoir. We went through the same process with Sundance over on the other side on Brewery. We couldn't come up with a deal there. So now we have a developer that only can do that if we bring the water up there, which clearly benefits him, and there's benefits to us. And so that to me is the biggest deterrent from going to hilltops. Is that it's all engineering wise, it's almost impossible to get water up there unless we put a reservoir up there. Jed.
So what are the options to, I think from what I heard at the planning commission meeting is that people were generally supportive of this for this project, but not village wide. Is there a way that we can do that? He talked about a friendly amendment. You brought up the idea of changing the ordinance again. If we change the ordinance back, are you committed to putting that back on the agenda? And what's the timeline on that?
I would have no problem with that. Go ahead, Bill.
What's the timeline on that then?
I can do it as soon as this gets cleared.
But how long will it take for that to clear?
Well, I guess it's up to them when they get a preliminary plat approved.
Do you have an estimation?
I can tell you
That's
that
troublesome.
I can tell you at the earliest, you're looking at a minimum of 2 years out before there's even water.
So you can't undo the ordinance for at least 2 years if you change it, is what you're saying?
I'm not saying that, you can change it anytime you want, I guess, but what I'm saying is. When we talk about. And this is what is different about this development. We are kind of jumping ahead with and doing things different. And I understand with ordinance changes why they're doing it. But technically. The hoops they have to go through yet is. They clearly, first, we have to get that in an urban service area. We have to get the PFC to approve that we can even construct a water system. They need to do a preliminary plat. They need to do a final plat, and we'll need to go to the PFC and get permission to do a rate increase. And that's a lot of work and a lot of time. Bill.
So at planning, there was some discussion about if there's a way we could keep the 150 horizontal foot depth in this particular ordinance and give Marchstone what they need. And I think I heard a solution for that. If we had a motion to say for 83.125 subset R, hilltop edge, an area measuring upslope from the top of the hillside and perpendicular to the slope being 150 horizontal feet in depth, with the exception of the Marchstone subdivision and giving the area within the Marchstone subdivision and make that part of the ordinance.
I would, that's kind of broad. I would think that we would want it.
If we can narrow.
If we can narrow, say it, either they give us.
Do that to give them.
Yes, you can, we checked with the attorney, that is a possibility. You could say. That you're gonna give, they can do 17 lots that are in this area, they can identify the lots. Or you could do broader where the whole development, I would not support the whole development. But you certainly could do where you give them, say, 17 lots, they can go from 150, they can go to 100.
That would be.
And then
Yeah,
you can, yeah, that would be one, or you do, like you say, try to narrow it into a land. Where we exactly. What's that?
Like GIS coordinates.
Yeah, thank you, that's the
right,
word.
yeah, and if we could do that, and then I think there'd be, because one of the biggest things I've heard from everyone who came and spoke tonight, most everyone who came and spoke tonight, and other people that have talked to me on a one-to-one basis, is the uncertainty of future developments.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And we've worked with this developer now for 2 years. We understand what he's thinking. He understands, in my opinion, the good of the village and the good for his development are one and the same. So I'm willing to bend and make that happen. But I don't want to give this overall change that 150 foot for future developers unless they come and they ask, and we go through this process again for future people to do. That's my opinion.
Okay, no, that's great. I like to see options under Judy.
I think originally wasn't it affecting 26 houses, but then you already cut it down to only 16 houses, right? That it was gonna affect.
It started at 30.
Oh, 30. Okay, so I'm agreeing with you, Bill, if we could do something like that, but then I would go back to allow the whole 30 houses left.
I would too.
I would, okay.
Yeah, I would.
Okay, the 30 was at 50,
That was the 50.
Oh, yeah.
But where they're at. They're in a corner where nobody's gonna see them.
Yeah, but I guess I don't, I would be willing to support the 150 for the 16 or 17 lots.
100.
Huh?
I said 150.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I don't support the 50, I would support the 100 on the limited lots. Otherwise, the rest of them are 150.
I'm flexible either way, but I just want to I want to be able to compromise. With the developer and not give away the farm and village.
I mean, there's probably little trust for us, but what I can tell you is we've already tweaked the plan as it pertains to the 100. So, I mean, I know this won't go any further, but coming us back with specific lots, we're doing it tonight at 100 feet, will be the exact same thing.
I'm not following, Jeff.
Well, if you looked at the map that we redid,
Yeah.
that we don't need a variance. And it really, it shows every hilltop available in Marchstone. So for us to come back and tell you 16 lots, well, that map of 100 feet basically takes care of it. So if you looked at that map, you couldn't see any other areas that we would want.
I guess I'm missing, what would be, I think in an ordinance, it needs to be detailed. You can't have an open-ended ordinance.
Well, I don't think.
Okay, so what I think I'm hearing, at least from Bill and Judy and even myself, is that the ordinance would stay as written. There would be a second paragraph that would say Marchstone would be able to reduce the hilltop edge buffer to 100 feet for 17 lots. End of period. That would be it. So it takes concerns of everybody thinking that all our hilltops are gonna be developed. It ends that. It gives you to, in my understanding, that map shows. And it's very detailed.
Carly, could you go to the other map? Because that's the one fish.
It'll take a while because they're so big.
Let's go back.
So if you look at that, even 100 in some of these areas, we used to have lots. Like there, we took out, so really. I guess what I'm trying to say, not in a very good way, is there's nothing that can be done to this plan to increase that number of 17.
Cameron.
This is 150 feet or is this 100 feet?
This is 100.
Okay, now what, the previous one was 150? Okay, thank you.
So we took out lots to accommodate the 100. And that's what you're seeing right here. And we can live with this. You know, we do lose lots, but we've already committed to say that the lots we lose at 100 are acceptable. And that's what the map would look like.
Okay, so aren't what we're proposing the exact same thing that you have up here?
Except we're coming back for another meeting.
Why are you coming back for another
No,
meeting?
not you, I'm saying, the developer coming back and in the future asking for their development bid. I'm not talking about you.
I mean, if we don't go forward, another guy comes in. Okay.
No.
And listen, we're trying to give you what you want.
Yeah.
So, here's what I'm proposing. I'm proposing that for Marchstone.
Yep.
Right? You get your 100-foot variance.
Yep.
Right? And all we're saying is that Marchstone gets their 100-foot variance, but we want to be specific in our language so we have a comfort zone for what that looks like. We're not asking you to come back with anything else. If we pass this.
I'm sorry, I thought we were getting specific into lots.
No.
We are, we're saying a number. Yes, we are saying a number.
A number of lots, we're
Right.
not saying which lots.
Correct.
So we're gonna, a friendly amendment, potentially.
It's not a friendly amendment, just,
Okay, so an amendment so the ordinance change will basically say for Marchstone, we can have 17 lots.
And with a 100-foot hillside.
hilltop edge.
Hillside, right. My computer wants that.
I know, I just wanna make sure we use the right term,
Hilltop
because
edge.
they're very different.
Right.
All right,
I'm just gonna say I'm not in favor of this. I support the ordinance as it stands at 150 feet. Why adjusted? These are environmental things that we placed in the village for a reason.
I'm
foolish to do.
this is not an environmental, this is view shed protection. There's a difference.
Anytime you start adjusting a hilltop, you're adjusting environmental, you're adjusting runoff, erosion, all of that.
Okay,
starts to
and
happen.
we have ordinances that cover that are still gonna be enforced. This does not change any of that. This is just changing on 17 lots, reducing the hilltop edge by 50 feet. That's what this is. Sarah,
And I don't support this because I think it should have been a waiver, and I think that this is a way to work around our waiver system, and if we had a problem with the waiver.
okay?
If you ask your village engineer who spoke at the planning commission meeting, he
Guys, let him talk.
Yeah, you guys, this is my meeting, all right? This is for the board to discuss.
Can I ask?
Yeah, go ahead.
I do believe you did state though that we needed to ask. this
That's
question.
true.
So does someone have a question about this?
All right. Do we have a motion?
I will make a motion that we change ordinance 83.125 subset R to read hilltop edge, an area measured upslope from the top of the hillside and perpendicular to the slope being 150 horizontal feet in depth. Second paragraph. With the exception of Marchstone development and 17 lots within their development.
Okay. All right, you didn't declare
I'm sorry.
Okay, we have a second. We have two options here. We can do a friendly amendment to your amendment. That would state The second paragraph would say Marchstone Development can have
A 100-foot.
can have 17 lots with a 100-foot hilltop edge.
Yes.
All right, so is there a second to that friendly amendment?
Yes, second.
All right, so, any discussion on the friendly
Can
amendment?
we have a reread of the whole amendment?
Not, it'll be after this. So, roll call vote on the friendly amendment.
Reread the friendly amendment, please.
March, well, are you gonna read it or do you want me to just state it?
My notes basically say listen to the recording for exact wording.
So it's, we're keeping what the current ordinance says.
Correct.
All right. The friendly amendment is going to add to what he wanted to say that Marchstone will be able to have 17 lots with a 100-foot hilltop edge requirement.
Okay.
All right, any other discussion? Roll call vote.
Trustee Henry,
This is for the amendment, yes.
trustee Borcar,
So it's the amendment.
Yeah.
Yes.
trustee Brochus.
Yes.
Trustee Polakowski,
No.
trustee Borcar,
Yes.
trustee Calvater,
Yes.
president Lightfoot.
Yes, now we're back to the regular amendment that was given by Bill, second by Judy, but basically we'll say pretty similar, the same thing. I don't wanna say.
So now we'd be in discussion.
Yes, we're in discussion now on the original amendment that Bill made.
Can we have Brian weigh in on this?
You mean the original motion?
Yeah, motion, yeah. Sorry.
Brian, can you weigh in?
Sir,
Find a
just say
place?
amendment, I
Oh, I'm
think the
sorry.
Original motion.
Yeah, thank you.
I don't know that I have a useful, opinion on how you get where you sounds like you wanna go. One. And a little late, a friendly amendment of a friendly amendment. You may wanna consider making it 17 single family lots. But really kind of hone that in and you question that.
Can you speak up?
You bet.
That does.
Oh, sorry. You may want to do 17 single family lots. Engineers worry for a living, and one potential worry is if the economy takes a dump and development stalls out for a decade or two, those lots that the development right now can be sold. There's 3 large sellable parcels, and it could be sold tomorrow, it could be sold in 10 years. And if the goal tonight, or as part of this process, is that 17 single family lots can have that 100-foot, I would suggest sharpening the pencil there. But other than that, it seems similar in result to this. Just personal preference on how you adjudicate your.
So my question to you is, if we wouldn't say single family, could he put apartments there? Or could not him, but any other developer coming in? When you say.
No,
when you say
because
single
you
family.
still have to zone them, right? So-
Right, so it still has to be
So
zoned.
it would still have to be
commercial or
zoned.
Whatever, right.
Yes, but if the intention is single family, I would suggest making single family. Just to make clear for future boards or future people or future developers. That's what you intended, the single family in that.
Does there need to be something to say they're undividable? So that you're not splitting up a lot, and putting 2 houses into a single lot? I mean, if you got 17 and they divide those 17 in half and put, I don't think they would do that, but.
I don't think you would need that, there's just the way the capitalism works, there's a goal to, get those lots about as not large enough to be splittable. So what we've seen so far, and I don't think there's any real incentive to make them large enough to be splittable.
Understood, thank you.
Cameron?
Could you speak to the, I guess, like the erosion piece of this and all that, I mean, I understand that the current ordinance. And like, you know, all the stuff behind it is for like the sightline stuff. And Jay keeps saying, you know, there's other controls for that, like, can you speak to that at all?
Sure, you do have your own erosion control ordinance, of course. Separate and independent from this hillside and hilltop preservation. The distance of that buffer, whether it's 100 feet or 150 or 1 foot. Is not that germane to erosion control, because that's more based on the slope of the disturbed ground and how you're protecting it. Your ordinance on erosion control covers how to protect flat slopes, steep slopes. You have all kinds of topography in town, of course. So from a technical standpoint, this would be siloed off, and the state would still be subject to your already fairly specific ordinance. I wouldn't have any concerns on additional erosion problems related to this. Because it's in the hilltop, if you were eager to allow more hillside, you know, that the hillside slope, then perhaps, but even there are prescriptive measures to protect those types of slopes, if that were the case, but we're just talking hilltop.
So I guess, can you try to help me square the circle? You know, the feedback that, you know, overwhelmingly is coming out of public comment is if you go from 150 to 100, they're gonna cut down more trees, that's gonna hurt our. Like, where does our erosion existing ordinances and protections play into that?
Well, the erosion control ordinance relates specifically to disturbed surfaces, disturbed ground. It's tree cover doesn't hurt, obviously, erosion, but it's not necessarily true to say there's not erosion problems underneath trees. You know, really what we're looking to do is vegetate that surface. And some forests just don't have much vegetation down the ground. The construction traffic of tree removal can cause erosion as part of a tree removal effort. I think we want to see an erosion control plan. No, we don't want rutted tire tracks everywhere and that kind of thing. So it would only be in as much as it's more activity as opposed to no activity in that area. But certainly still a site like this, as you have seen on phase one, it's a lot of dirt does need to get moved. So the incremental additional erosion concern would not be really significant. It's part of a big project. But you'd want to see an erosion control permit for the tree removal, whether it was on flat or slopes or.
And we're not even there in the project, right?
No.
That would come after preliminary?
That's actually that's separate from preliminary. So tree removal can be done on land at any point.
Right.
There's some incentive, I may speak for the developer, there's some incentive to get a preliminary plat lined up. So you're not cutting trees down to make your lots more good. You know, you want to kind of know where your roads are, that kind of thing. So it's probably going to come to coalesce at the same time, but if the development stalls, there could be a submittal for tree removal tomorrow. Separate, just because they want to clean up the forest or harvest timber or what a landowner may want to do. But I would expect they're going to coalesce at the same time.
Thank you.
Everybody else have a question for Brian? All right, I think we need another friendly amendment to add single family to the lot part of your motion. So I will make a motion to include single family to the 17 lot language.
I can't second it because I made the.
I can second
that.
All right, so we have a motion discussion. All right, let's do roll call vote again. This is an amendment to a friendly amendment to change the original amendment. That's all.
It's a single family.
Yes.
Trustee Polakowski,
Yes.
trustee Brochus.
Yes.
Trustee Borchard,
Yes.
trustee Henry,
Yes.
trustee Calvater,
Yes.
trustee Borman,
Yes.
president Langton.
Yes. All right, so now we're back to the original motion that now includes single family unit to that. Any other discussion? Sarah?
Another thing that I keep thinking about is this just feels like a direct contradiction to our comprehensive plan where we specifically state that we're going to continue to protect our hillside edges or hilltop edges.
Cameron?
I don't like how this is turning out to be an ordinance that carves out a very specific exception, like it just doesn't feel like an ordinance anymore, like like an ordinance should be like, we as a village, you know, feel this way, like whether it's 100 feet or 150 feet, like, but like, it just, an ordinance feels like it should be a global thing, not here's our ordinance, you know, but this development over here has exceptions.
I think you're correct, you know, well.
Well, I thought you were gonna say wrong for a second.
No,
No, sorry, I'm working.
You know, if you looked at best practices, absolutely that would fall in. But there are times, again, it's called problem solving and doing it. They do it at the state level with state statute, all right? It's to address a concern that's very unique to this development. And it achieves that goal of what, you're right, a lot of people who were objecting was not so much that some of them felt it was okay for certain waivers, I heard that numerous times, for certain lots to do this. This is achieving pretty much the same thing, but they wanted protection, so other developers of our whole hillside. So what we're doing, to me, is listening to what people have said was their criticism. And we're adjusting to what some of them already have suggested. Now, the tool or the method that we're doing, yes, one way is the waiver process, but certainly, and again, I'm not an attorney, but we asked that of our attorney because we figured this might be, after hearing from plan what was brought up, we asked our village attorney that Wednesday morning, all these different options, and do they work? Are they legal? What should our process be? And this is clearly one that he felt was, again, can be done. You know, like he's the one that brought up all the examples in state statute that give certain people rights that no one else gets. And Milwaukee, the city of Milwaukee is one of them. Cameron and Jen.
I can't vote for this. It feels like the worst of options to try to carve out a variance, and I guess I still don't understand the risk of a variance. You know, or waiver, I'm sorry, God, yes. I don't understand the risk of a waiver. And you guys spoke to it a little bit. You guys had said that, you know, it adds risk to the project and best for our family, but like, I don't know what that means. So I can't.
Well, there's a higher risk in the sense for them.
To what?
Okay,
Yeah.
the risk is they go through all the planning and development and the cost to get to a final plat. And then it goes to plan and it's required, they'll need 6 votes. If it gets 5 votes, it's dead in the water and it never makes it to the board,
3/4.
which is 6 votes.
Yeah, but that's what the.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So the risk is it could be killed by plan and you'd never get to look at it. That's a possibility. Then when it gets to here, you also have to have 6 votes. All right, so there's a higher risk in getting something through. And that's why it's a much more difficult process.
And so this works because there's only a 50% vote needed to get an ordinance change?
It's a majority, it's more than 50%,
Sure, yes.
but it ends here at the board, which is the decision-making body of this village. Judy.
Oh,
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, Jed and then.
Brian, can you speak to the commonality, uncommonality of doing something in this way?
You're not following.
Making this, carving out this change in
He's
the
not
ordinance. Well, I know, but he's probably seen this in other communities and I'm not asking him to offer a legal opinion, but whether or not he's seen it.
I don't know that I can't recall seeing it. I also don't recall anywhere else that has an ordinance like this. So this is a unique ordinance in the community that I work in. So I don't know that I have a useful opinion on it, but I don't see it like this, but I also don't see this ordinance.
Thank you.
Wait, Judy.
In my mind, it's the same thing as doing a waiverance or variance or whatever else. All we are doing, and everybody here has said they're okay with it, they're okay with it. So we're doing it this way, and what's the difference? It all gets the same point. We're getting to the bottom line. We all get the same end result. And we're saving the 150 for any future one, and that's what everyone in this room said they want. So we're doing what they all want.
Cameron.
I mean, this is probably gonna be chased out of the room. I would support an ordinance change to make it 100 feet. I won't support it with a carve out for March Shop.
Okay,
That's weird to me. That's not the way an ordinance. The ordinance is either we collectively as a group think that 100 feet or 150 feet is right, not it's 150 feet except over there.
And you know what? I'm with you, all right? I'm with you, but this village has been known, and the reason I have been involved in local village politics for 30 years, well, not necessarily, I've been on the board a couple of times, but just about every committee, is this group of citizens and boards and committees are always tied to problem solving. All right, so here is it unusual? Yes. It's not done every day. Is it done in other places? Absolutely. So this is trying to get to a point where there's win-win here. There's win for the developer. There's win for the citizens that want some type of limitations and protections from this going village-wide. So you're right, there are two options there. There's the waiver process and there's this process. Both are legal. Right? And it's a preference. To me, I'm with Judy. We're getting to the same spot. You do your waivers and we give them the 17 lot waivers. I just don't see how that's any different in outcome than doing the 17 identified in an ordinance.
It
so
seems different to me.
Well, it is different. It's a different process for sure. All right. Look,
Yeah, I say.
Yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
not in favor. I mean, this development could easily work within our 150-foot boundary if they chose to. We just have to redraw the map. You might not have as many lots and redesign it. We don't have to go with this plan, with this plat. I do support the 150 feet. I do support, as Sarah said, the comprehensive plan and our protections for our hilltops and our hillsides. I think that this is going against all of it.
All right, I guess we have a motion and a second. Let's do roll call.
Trustee Brooklyn.
Hang on, can you read the motion in its entirety since it's changed 3 times?
So, will be the 83.125 sub R, say an area measured upslope from the top of hillside and perpendicular to the slope, being 150 horizontal feet in depth, with an exception for the Marshstone subdivision, 17 single family lots being 100 feet.
Go ahead, let's do roll call.
Trustee Brooklyn.
Oh, not roll call, but vote. I'm sorry.
Me?
Yeah.
No.
Trustee Kettlebaiter.
Yes.
Trustee Henry.
Yes.
Trustee Borger.
No.
Trustee Brochus.
Yes.
Trustee Pomakowski.
No.
President Lightfoot.
Yes. Okay. Motion carries. Section 83.18.
All right, so this section was to remain the same. So 83.18 sub A. There were no changes there. And then the next section is the list of exceptions that shall be allowed. So again, I'll just read sub A just so everyone is on the same page. No subdivision or land division within the village corporate limits and no subdivision within the village of Cross Plains extraterritorial jurisdiction area may be approved, which would result in a disturbance of land on areas defined herein as hillsides or hilltop edges. Development on hilltops, if allowed, shall be restricted so as to minimize the disturbance of land and vegetation and preserve the viewshed year-round for areas of lower elevation. And then the following exceptions shall be allowed. So I don't know if you want to go one by one, Jay, or how you want to do it.
Well, why don't we go through and read all of them and then we can go to discussion.
Okay. So I'll read the first one, installation of public utilities as needed to provide public services to serve larger areas. Number 2, I'm going to read the recommendation from Plan Commission, habitat maintenance as approved by the Village Director of Public Facilities. Number 3, fencing as approved by the Village Director of Public Facilities. Number 4, construction of public stormwater management facilities and erosion control measures. 5, grading and land disturbance necessary for construction of public or private recreational amenities, including trails, overlooks, parks, and open space improvements as approved by the Village Director of Parks and Recreation. Number 6, construction of private roads, driveways, and pedestrian, bicycle, or cart paths. And number 7, development of golf course uses, including fairways, greens, tee boxes, bunkers, drainage features, driving ranges, and cart paths. Do you want to talk about those at all? Or should we go on to sub B?
No, let's talk about them. People's thoughts.
And again, all of the blue are the changes
Can you
from.
put down again,
You want to see the first section?
yeah.
Sure.
Okay, people thoughts.
Why is habitat maintenance done by public facilities versus forester?
We don't have a forester.
Yeah.
Well, the director of public works is actually the village forester by ordinance. So
That's
we-
right.
So leaving it as forester is just the director of public works, unless we hire someone who's a forester, then they don't have control of that. The director of public works would what the forester does. So leaving it as forester is actually better in my opinion. Because the director of public works already is, if we say now you're the forester, that person will probably know habitat management better than our director of public works. We're hiring specifically to be the forester.
But we don't have one.
The director of public works is the forester.
Right, but
You're
In the
ordinance. Leave it as village forester, we don't have such a thing.
But in the ordinance, it defines the director of public facilities as a forester. I think all Michael is saying is why would you change this to the person we have right now? Keep the variable in place because one day maybe we will hire a forester and then update that other ordinance to say that the forester is the forester, not the director of public facilities.
Right, and the other one might say director of public works is a forester until time such and such is appointed.
I think it just makes sure that we have the best person making the decision, like keeping it forced.
so if you put village forester and we don't have a forester.
By ordinance, it is the director of public.
Well, I know, that's
Right.
why we changed it, so I'm trying to
But
figure
the
out,
thing is that.
why do we leave?
If we appoint a forester, he's probably gonna know about habitat maintenance better than director of public works. So this ordinance is already, has the right person for the job. By leaving it as the village forester.
It's just.
I think this needs to stay at village director of public facilities, and he hires, if he's not one, he hires a forester or someone else that reports to him, but we need somebody in charge. I don't want it to be, if we don't have a forester, what are we gonna do for 10 years? Yes, when we get a forester, then the ordinance would be correct, but all those 10 years, we're gonna have a ordinance that states something that we don't have?
Well, it is the director. of
Okay, then
public-
name it. If it's the director, which you.
It's already named somewhere else. It's-
Right, I understand that, so then we should keep it in here.
But then you
As
have to
the
come back,
full,
you have to come back and clean this one up in 10%.
Why?
It was done on purpose to say,
if the ordinance says in the past that your forester is your public works director.
That's a different ordinance says that.
Right, right.
Yes, okay.
Okay, so that's what we're copying, so we're exactly saying the same thing.
But then.
Okay,
my-
okay. So if we hire a forester, we'd have to go back and change that original ordinance that states that it's the public director. So,
unless that ordinance says the director of public facilities is the forester until such time as one is appointed. then
well,
that
sure, we
person
can go and
becomes the-
change that then.
Or it might be how it's written, but like, it's just how these things.
I
are
mean,
written.
either could work.
Yeah,
Either
if
can
we're
work.
gonna go back and change the other ordinance, I don't have a problem, but
I don't,
I don't know why we just wouldn't keep it as is.
I think you just change it one time, because you go change the parent ordinance that decrees who the village forester is. And then if, otherwise you have to go and clean a bunch of references all over the place where we changed it to director.
This is not a big thing, so I'm not gonna, like,
Right.
all right.
So people like village forester better is what I'm hearing?
I do.
Okay. Okay, so we got three that like,
Yeah,
Okay.
let's just go through everything and then we
Okay.
can clean it up, because again, we'll have to do a motion.
okay, anything on number 3 was just as is. And then
That's
number
just-
4 was just a cleanup because it should be measures, not measurements.
but 4, 5, 6, and 7 are being added to this ordinance from the way it currently. reads.
Right, yes, that is correct.
So,
So yeah,
so.
anything on 3? These are, yeah, I have the other changes in the packet as well. To show, but I tried to just clean it up, so you're just looking at the public or the plan commission recommendations.
So what we're basically saying is that now on hillsides and hilltops, we're allowing the construction of public stormwater management facilities and erosion control measures. We can grade things for private and recreational trails. We're allowing private roads on hillsides, driveways, pedestrians, and we're allowing golf course, we're allowing tee boxes, bunkers, drainage, driving ranges on hillsides. That's what all of that is saying. I'm not for any of that. Our previous ordinance limits what happens on hillsides and hilltops, and we're allowing you to build roads all over them. That is not a protection of a hillside at all.
I think roads are already in there.
What do you mean roads?
You can build, utilities are allowed on hillsides right now.
Yeah. If someone were to put like a cell tower or something on top of it,
Okay.
they would be
Yeah.
a way to get up there.
There's gonna be slope requirements, right?
Well,
Yeah.
there's, I think, a 12% for road or something like that, yeah, steepness, but that's already there.
Okay, but pedestrian, bicycle and cart paths, we wanna allow cart paths on hillsides and, I mean, just everything else I said, tee boxes, bunkers, all that, we're allowing that into these areas that we're supposed to be protecting. That doesn't, why are we,
Because for a golf course to exist, those are the items that you need to have.
yeah, that's why we're constructing this ordinance for the golf course. We're reconstructing this entire, I'm against it, but it doesn't.
Right, so. Anybody else? Comments on this? So, I have a few, because this is the key. I mean, Michael is saying no to everything, but this is a key part of what was brought up by a lot of people on protecting the creek and groundwater and stuff like that. So I don't, probably not too many people remember, but back in 2005, we had a committee put together and we actually had a water corridor, water quality corridor. I don't know how many people remember that, but there was quite a few restrictions on what you could do along creeks, and they had buffer zones and wellheads and all of that. This was repealed somewhere when I did the research around 2015. It's extremely strict. Just to give some comments, if we followed this, 3 of the people on this board probably wouldn't be here, because the subdivision you're in would not have been allowed under this water quality corridor. But it does give a lot of information that's very pertinent to what concerns of citizens were. So one of the individuals that were on this committee lives in the village. He works for the USGS, and he was pretty much the subject matter expert on this report. I met with him Friday for about 2 hours to talk about it. And this is extremely important. You have heard numerous times about the Fesky Springs. All right. And to understand what that is, it's very easy to go to Stagecoach Road, look at what the Black Earth Creek looks like for size and volume, and then go down to County P, and you'll see how much more quantity of water that's passing through. And if you take temperatures, you would find that the temperature is also much lower. And that's because the Fesky Springs that have been talked about pump an incredible amount of water into the Black Earth Creek. So it is extremely important to protect that. Now, it's for people where located, it's just west of Stagecoach, south of the railroad tracks. And I know Beckwith had a tour down there, but that is critical. Now, the critical part of that is making sure we get the water to go back into the ground. And people are kind of mixing their stormwater, their infiltration, right? What we want to really focus, both are important, but for Fesky Springs, it is not so much the runoff, it's making sure we recharge the water table. So that volume continues to come out and feed the creek. Now, I'm gonna give a couple examples because I think it's important for everybody to understand. Most of you are aware of Cedar Glen, that's Ludden Drive. We have businesses at the one end, apartment buildings, then homes. The village was able to make that 100% infiltration on that. So it can be done. We were the first in the state to do it. We were a model for everything. So we have always looked at protecting the creek, and we can do it. And this development, while we're not going to talk about it necessarily tonight, but when we do the preliminary plat and the agreement, that is where we need to make sure those protections are in. And we need to talk about what negative effects these are. Michael brings up a good point. But we've always been a village that doesn't say no necessarily. We say yes, but I'm going to give another example. When we redid the downtown development, that included moving sewer pipes into the roadway because they were going under homes. We needed a road for businesses to get to their businesses. Mill Pond was developed. We ended up needing to move the dealership to the other side of Brewery Road. We needed to fight like heck with DOT to allow a left turn lane so we wouldn't lose Quick Trip. There were a lot of factors going on this. The number one thing was, how was this going to affect the creek? And we ended up, and I'm giving the board, I wasn't on it when that was there. I was on before and after. They decided the best protection of that creek was to move it. Now, I can tell you, for people who were here, that was a huge fight. It was such a huge fight, the board went to referendum on it. It actually failed. There were more no votes than yes votes. But the board knew it was the right thing to do because they saw the big picture of it. And they moved the creek. And what are the results of that right now? The Black Earth Creek is better now than it was when it was a straight line going along Lagoon Street, I guess we called it at one time. It has, as mentioned, it has the highest rate of spawning in that creek. When you go and watch them shock and you look at their numbers, it's high. We have taken care of that. Brewery Road's another Brewery Creek. I know it was mentioned that it has flooded. There is more water. At one point, that was a dry gully. All right, now, while there are negatives like everything else, there's more water in it, so there's a higher likely of flooding. But just, I think it was 3 years ago, it was classified as a trout stream. So with the development we've done and the growth we've done, we've improved the Black Earth Creek and Brewery Creek. And that's what this committee, this board needs to continue to do. We need to protect and enhance and make things better. But that's not by saying no to everything. It's a matter of looking at what we can do and putting those safeguards in that we know are going to work. And there's plenty of people in this community that can help us with that. They have the talent, the expertise, and the education to do it. So I am confident that we can do both. It's not one or the other. It's a matter of problem solving and coming up with solutions to it. So, but like I say, this to me is the critical part of the development. Now, what's unfortunate is we don't have a preliminary plat or even be starting to discuss the developer agreement. But I just wanted to point out, and I want residents that are new that spoke, that we are not bending to anything. We are trying to move the village both in a financial way and in the conservancy and the protection and our job to mentor and everything else that's out there. So this one is important. This is a sensitive area that has been mentioned that we need to make sure we do a good job in making sure we protect. This, I think, the gentleman is willing to work with us. He's gonna give me some new maps from the USGS. The ones that he gave me are somewhat dated. They are dated, but I don't think the soil type or the hillside have changed that much that it's gonna be significant. But we are getting into an area that, as Sarah says, we need to protect. And that is part of our comprehensive plan, but we can also go to the comprehensive plan and find where we need to move forward in economic development and move forward in housing. You know, they're not always gonna be in line. There are gonna be some of that conflict, but the idea is we need to move forward on this. And I asked him a couple questions because his expertise is groundwater. The first thing I asked him is, what effect does it have in moving trees off the top and the bottom? And he says very little. The most of the infiltration comes when it's coming down the hillside, and that's what we need to really focus on. Now, I asked him, what about the difference between a fairway and a wooded area? In his opinion, it makes no difference as long as the water is getting absorbed. All right, so I think there's things that we can do to make this, but as I'm with Michael that I'm not gonna say no. It's just difficult. I don't have a problem moving forward with some of this, but it's not a guarantee that it's gonna happen because we need to hit these benchmarks and be able to do this for it, to move forward in the agreement. That's what gets, where I think this part is very tricky. Bill?
Question for you, sir.
Yes, sir.
So in designing a golf course, there are some areas. That golf carts are not allowed for one reason or another. I mean, so when you're building your golf course, do you look at the topography, you look at possible erosion issues, safety of the fairways, the greens and all that when you, so the cart paths? I mean, that's the big kind of the red, not a red flag, but that's the big flag I see is cart paths. Sure. On that.
Well, first of all, you gotta make them safe. And, so if there's an instance where it's a straight up and down steep slope, there's no way we'll go from point A to point B. We'll do a switchback. Sure. So we'll work with the terrain to make sure it's safe and that we're not going straight up. Pretty much that's true with everything. We're gonna disturb, because this is one of those items that we started at the very beginning about the amount of steep slope disturbance was very minimal, and I think it was 8 acres we were talking about for the golf. So for the most part, things are, and even we gave some examples prior, but even in a steep slope scenario, we might be disturbing it, but we're not disturbing the slope. We might have, if we have a par 4, or excuse me, par 3, there's a gully. So from point A to point B, the tee and green are relatively the same elevation, but there's a gully. So we'll make sure we clean that out. Grass it, everything, in Jay's example, trees, fairways, not a whole lot of difference. So although we're disturbing from a potential tree removal, we're not disturbing the steep slope. We are, we're working in that area, but not necessarily changing the slope.
We had one village member tonight. I think it was tonight, that said that, you're, if I'm interpolating this correctly, your water absorption is gonna be better in grass than it is gonna be in a forest area, possibly because under a canopy, you could have just straight dirt where you could have erosion. Where you have grass, you're gonna have more absorption of water. Is that?
Well, that's what.
I'm not an expert. Yeah.
No, and Brian kind of alluded to it. Again, if there's leaves and it's dripping slowly down, that's breaking, and it's on a hard rain. It, again, depends what's underneath. There's a lot of examples. If it's honeysuckle and nothing grows underneath, you're right. If it's prairie plants, it probably will absorb more than.
Sure.
Right. I mean, there's just a lot of play in that. I don't think you can say one way or the other. That's why when I asked him, he said it's a neutral thing. As long as it's not on sidewalk or street or anything like that.
Okay.
Wasn't I supposed to have an opportunity to present?
Oh, yeah, my error.
No, I just want to make sure that I'm not
No.
breaking any rules here.
No.
The only thing I want to say about the infiltration is, phase 1 was 98%. We've already worked out 98% on phase 2, but we've instructed our engineer to try to hit on. So it is our goal, to hit 100% in phase 2.
Okay, I just want to make, the 90% applies. Is Brian still here?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, all right. Because again, is there, my understanding is the 90% state rule is for stormwater capture.
Yes.
Infiltration, there is no standard, we could have 100%.
The state standard is 90%.
For that too?
Yes, and it sits, there is a part of that code that prohibits municipalities from requiring more than that. Yours does.
Yeah.
And often a developer will call that out, and often the village will say, well, I know that, but we really like it at go above and beyond, and often they do, so that's how the 98 was achieved on phase one.
But am I correct? Are they two different things? Or is it,
They're the same, actually.
oh, they are?
Yeah, yeah, so
Okay.
sometimes it's called stay on volume if you're reading through the literature, but infiltration.
Is the same as storm water?
Stay on stormwater, you may be thinking of, rate control, so the big ponds are for storing water and bleeding it out slowly downstream. Also important,
Yeah,
but very little to do with recharging groundwater.
Right.
The 90% infiltration is the way you recharge groundwater.
yep,
And it's
yeah,
separate from the ponds that
that's okay,
prevent flooding downstream.
all right, thank you. Anybody else? Sarah?
You brought up some of these other developments and I'm curious. How many ordinances were changed for like Glacier Ridge or City Valley? The ordinance was changed?
Well,
I'm curious.
water, only on water, you mean?
Oh, no, how many ordinances?
Hey, which ones are you talking about?
Glacier Ridge and City Valley.
Glacier Ridge, which one is that?
That's,
That's yours?
yeah,
I am guessing, and I'm just a guess, but it was about the same time. I'm guessing where this was, the water quality corridor, because it was around that same time that this was repealed. I don't,
it was like 2000.
what was repealed?
No, sorry. I'm just talking about these neighborhoods, like City Valley, that's pretty recent.
Yeah,
So I'm curious how many ordinances were changed.
we
for
did a
these.
variance for the Hilltop Edge.
Yes, and that's
that's-
again why I just keep coming back to this, where typically in the past, it's always been variances, so that's why all of this just seems very strange to me.
Okay. Anybody else? But I guess we'll look at B. I don't think there's much in that, is there? If I were,
No, not a whole lot. The subdivider shall identify the base of the hillside and top of the hillside if applicable, with a 1-inch iron pipe located on the property line. In wooded areas, a steel fence post shall also be placed to identify the base of the hillside and top of hillside. And then C section, or I guess, is there anything else you want to discuss B before I move on to C?
that's staying, I'm pretty sure that's.
This is, yeah, this is all staying the same, but, and then C section 83.125 sub N through R, and exhibit A1 for definitions related to hill development, and section 84.95 for hill development regulations. And then.
Say, no, let's do that one
Okay.
next. Yeah, so we're just on this one.
Mhm.
So we did 83.125R first, but now we're doing the rest of them in back?
No, we're doing,
Okay, then maybe we should just stay on
we should stick,
83.18.
Yep, that's what we're still on.
that's what we're on.
Wait, what? No, we were into.
83.1.
No,
the
there's
word.
two, this is part of the subsection.
Oh.
You're at the bottom, this is. she cleaned it up.
Okay.
On page 95.
Okay, so now we're talking about. EC. Okay.
Okay, the changes, we're going back to
Yeah,
village forester. People wanted.
Yep, that's what I have noted.
I mean, is everyone fine with adding 4 through 7 into this ordinance? All these other things that are exemptions to the hillside and hilltop protections?
I feel like when I look at, especially number 7, I understand for this project, again, it's a change to everything, so that's why I'm struggling with that.
So what would you suggest? I mean, if we want a golf course, right? So what would you,
Well,
what
I mean,
system, and I'm not saying you are in favor of a golf course, I'm just saying, if you're a policymaker, what would be the avenue to do this?
Well, I guess I would have preferred a waiver. Just to continue to protect it. I'm not saying I'm against a golf course. I mean, I supported other things, but I feel like this is giving a lot of leeway for the hillside.
Besides, so, okay, I'm just really trying to, if we want a golf course. We would put it in here, I don't, the way, you would have a waiver for a golf course, I'm just, do you think there's gonna be more golf courses coming? Okay, all right, I'm trying to understand where you're coming from, or how to solve the concern that you have. That's what I'm trying to come up with.
Well, my concern is like on 5, why is 5 being added in on public or private recreational amenities? The trails of parks and open space improvements. I mean, why is this being put into this ordinance?
So you don't want them to be able to do that on the hillside?
On trails.
No, I don't, right now, we don't allow it.
Well, I disagree with you. I think Ice Age Trail goes on a lot of hillsides.
Hickory Hill.
I think there's all kinds of trails that are on hillsides. I'm trying to understand, we already do it. That's my feeling, we already do that, we have a road going all the way up to the wells and to the reservoirs on hillsides. I mean, this is just adding what we already do, kind of.
I understand.
Cameron, you can be next, you don't have to keep your hand up the whole time.
But as approved by the Director of Parks and Recreation, if this isn't an ordinance and we want to build a trail somewhere, he has to come to the village board and say, hey, I want to build a trail on the hillside. Whereas right now, we're just saying the Director of Parks and Rec be like, plow that trail right through there. It's absolutely giving him that permission to do that, whereas if it's not in the ordinance, it has to go to the board for permission is what because it lets us have a stronger say of what happens on our hillsides, whereas we're just allowing construction on private roads, driveways, pedestrian places on everything. Is what's happening. We're just allowing it without any protections on these places that are comprehensive plan protects and that we're trying to protect, obviously, but it opens it up completely. And that's what these ordinance changes are doing, because you're allowing all these exceptions to.
Well, but it's not like we're allowing anybody to do anything, it's going through staff. And I guess at some point you trust staff on certain things, if you want staff to come every time they wanna put a trail through or that. I mean, I don't think that's
Yes, I do. I'll say yes, because I've been on this and they've had to come and ask us if they want to put bike trails up in conservancies and all this, and we get to know what's going on in the hills.
so.
So you're asking for this to be removed?
No, he's asking for the whole thing to be 5 to be removed. I don't think any of us, does anybody have a real desire to have that in there? Cameron?
I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion to approve section 8318 as presented and suggested by the plan commission, with the one modification being to 282 and not having that change and keeping it as village forester.
Well, second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second.
Clarification.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so you're saying that what we all read up there is what your motion is.
Except for that, everything
Okay,
else stays.
first. Oh, got it, thank you.
All right, discussion.
This is. Can anybody hear me?
Is everyone fine with this being how it's written?
Hello?
I make a motion to remove number 5.
Whoa.
I can make an amendment.
You can make a friendly amendment, yes.
No, that's not, it's an amendment, it's not necessarily.
Okay.
It's an amendment.
Yes. Okay, you wanna make an amendment to the motion. Okay, thank you. All right.
I want to make an amendment to the motion for the removal of number 5 from this section.
I'll second it.
All right, we're gonna do that first. We have a motion and a second discussion.
Let's remove number 5.
Yeah,
remove sub number 5.
He would add that to their motion. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. I don't think it's, again, it's one of those things to get on, if it comes here for everything. It just gave staff a little bit more freedom, that's all. Go ahead, Sarah. Go ahead.
I mean, I don't think it's something that's gonna be happening every month, so I don't think it's that big.
Okay, other people's comments? Alrighty, on the motion of the amendment of removing number 5. Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Henry,
Yes.
trustee Borcar,
Yes.
trustee Brochus,
No.
trustee Paul Mikowski,
Yes.
trustee Borland,
No.
say no.
Yes.
Trustee
Sorry,
Kelly.
losing my voice.
No.
Trustee Langill,
I'm gonna say yes, and I lost track of the votes.
Yeah.
Four passed.
It passed.
So 5 is removed.
Oh, 5 is removed, okay. Now we're back to the original. And it's the motion to keep to change 2 to village forester and removes 5. All right. So roll call vote. Okay.
I make another amendment. I motion to amend the thing. I would like the removal of number 6 from this subtopic.
Is that here?
Number 6. Remove.
Remove number 6.
All right. Is there a second anywhere?
I'll second it.
All right. We have another one. We're at discussion.
We already do that. I'm, this is something we have already in the
This
bill.
is the plan commission.
No, these 4, 5, 6, and 7 were added to.
I
this.
understand, but we
This
are
is
already
what was meant to
doing
plan
number
commission.
6, whether
But
it's
I
in our
have
ordinances or
right now.
not.
Yes.
We have that already that we're doing.
The original.
I don't understand why you're having
This
an
is-
issue with this one, Michael.
Yeah.
This is one reason
I could support you on 5. I can't support you on this. It's just another step. There are things we just need to do. You know, we need to put a road up to certain
We gotta put
public
up to
facility.
the water tower.
We
gotta put
were
it
looking-
on
I
the
just wanna
hill.
understand then, so why did it need to be added then?
And it keeps, these people just keep
Because
harping the
it's not-
same point.
We've been doing it without really supposed to be
We're
doing
doing
it.
it illegally now, so now we're trying to make it legal.
Or we're asking for variances to our, but this is chapter 80, I mean, this is chapter 83, this is when a land division happens, not when we already own it, like if the village already owns the land. This is happening. Chapter 83 applies to when you're dividing land, it doesn't, it's not an ordinance that exists, I think. This is a land division ordinance. It's different than our, right, there's a different animal to it. Meaning
Yeah, it's a land division and subdivision ordinance.
yeah. Which means that the village owns the land and they come to us and say, we want to build a water tower. They're like, okay, you can build a water tower, we have permission to drive a road. But this is saying during a subdivision process, are you allowing, then you're basically saying you're allowing to put private roads on side hillsides. And it's just, it just isn't allowing protection.
You're opposed to putting a bicycle path or a walking path on a hill?
On a hillside, this applies to a hillside, means you can put it
You're
right in the middle of
opposed to
hillside.
putting a
Yes.
bicycle path or a walking trail on a hill?
Well,
That's what you're saying.
yeah, but
But this is a subdivision.
Yeah.
Yes, it's when it's being subdivided. It's not when the village owns, like the village gets a piece of conservancy. And then we say, hey, we're gonna go in and build a trail up there. It doesn't apply then. This applies when the land is being subdivided. It means that when it comes on the preliminary plat and we're building all these roads all over the place on land that he owns. It's not land that the village owns. It's on private land that's coming in on a preliminary plat.
So you have a developer that wants to put a hiking trail on his property and you're saying, no, don't do that.
Yes, because if it's on the hill, I mean, it's on the hillside, that's where you grant variances, that's where the
So,
variance.
so we could be hypocritical as a village and say, as a village, we can do this, but we're not gonna let a developer do this.
Yeah, of course we can.
Okay. So I know where you're at.
I mean,
yeah,
but this is a subdivision.
yeah, I see,
It's different than when we own something and we decide to put a trail on it or a road on it. See, this is allowing the golf course when it gets subdivided, because it's a subdivision, is what it comes on the plat. These ordinances just really hold when it comes for a preliminary plat. Or these are, because if these aren't in there, that he's gonna have to have variances for all these things. Specifically talking about any developer, they're gonna have to have variances for all these things when it comes in. It's not saying because we do them, but this is allowing the subdivision to come in, because we're saying this is all okay to do. When we subdivide and when we bring something into the village, we're allowing all of it.
I understand, yeah, and I guess construction of a private road driveways, yeah. I guess I'm with Michael on this now.
I mean, it's just
Yeah, I see
granting a
what you're-
lot of exceptions on a subdivision.
Yeah, I kind of see it, we do wanna protect the hillsides. Yeah, okay, I'm kind of looking at what I just stated about how we want to keep those hillsides as clean as possible, should only be, it's absolutely necessary. And this doesn't affect the development at all. So he's got me convinced.
No,
Any
it
other
does-
comment?
it Does affect the development.
Yeah, cart.
No, because it's already in 7. It's repeated in 7.
That's true.
All right, let's do a roll call on this amendment.
Trustee Henry.
This is the amendment to remove 6, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Trustee Borcar.
Yes.
Trustee Brochus.
Nope.
Trustee Pankowski.
Yes.
Trustee Borland.
Yes.
Trustee Calvater.
No,
President Lang.
Yes. All right, so now that's in it.
No, it's
It's
out.
Remove.
It's removed, well, yeah,
in
removed,
the amendment to remove 6, so,
yeah.
okay.
So the
Modification to 2, 5, and 6 are gone.
Yes, so the amendment that we're voting on changes to, removes 5 and 6. All right,
So. Yep.
we're good?
No, I
Gonna do
have,
stuff? Yeah, he's gonna go.
well,
You've combined them?
I have to.
Well, go ahead then, let's
I
just do
have
it.
been to remove number 4 from this. From this motion.
All right. Is anybody gonna second it? All right, that one dies.
I motion to remove number 7 from this motion.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. This one you're not gonna be able to convince me, bud.
Try.
I know. I mean, this is, if this doesn't go, then we don't have a golf course.
Right, that's why I'm making.
Okay.
this motion.
All right. Any other discussion?
So, sway however you feel environmentally with whatever's gonna happen with the golf course and everything inside of erosion. By putting paths on hillsides up there, even though we're gonna have erosion control measures, it's altering the landscape of that area tremendously. And allowing a lot of hillside and hilltop development. A lot of hillside development inside of the golf course and what's being planned for.
And I guess I'm gonna counter, while there are cons to certainly having a golf course, there are certainly plenty of pros to it. And the one, since we're talking about this, is you're certainly gonna absorb a lot more water on a fairway than you're gonna do on a street or sidewalk, or driveway or rooftop. This one I'm not going to agree with. Anybody else? Roll call vote.
Trustee Calvater.
to take it out, no.
Trustee Borland.
No.
Trustee Pankowski.
Yes.
Trustee Brochus.
No.
Trustee Borcar.
Yes.
Trustee Henry.
No.
President Lang.
Okay, now I got confused.
He wants to remove it.
It
so
doesn't
And I,
matter what-
and I say no.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Are we done?
Yeah, that's it.
All right, so let's just recap, make sure, Bobby, that I'm right. 2, we're going back to Village Forester. Number 5 and 6 are gonna be removed.
Yep.
All right.
I'm gonna follow my.
That's a question.
Well, we're at discussion, go ahead.
I have a quote. Since you put this in there, you have drainage features instead. What does that? What does that mean in general? What does a drainage feature on a,
Right, pond,
so what?
pond.
Oh. I don't know what drainage.
No, but he just
Yeah.
answered, it's where water drains into a pond, so, you know, they have, a water hazard, thank you, I'm not a golfer, but I see that as, plus.
You know, and that drainage feature might be literally stormwater management.
Well, that's. See, that's where this becomes difficult to understand, like even with like the stormwater management facilities on a hillside. Why are we putting, we're putting stormwater and. What is that, like a gully that you're sending water down? I mean, it's.
Well, it could be a lot of things, Michael, it could be something positive where it slows the water down so more gets absorbed.
I think you gotta keep in mind too, this isn't just for Marchstone. The village may want to, in some other property not on Marchstone, put in a public stormwater management facility. That's gonna help the village elsewhere. So keep in mind, this is village ordinance, not just Marchstone.
I understand that, but most of our stormwater management things are on the ground flat, we don't build them in the hillside.
I'm just, there might be.
Why
an
would we
occasion-
wanna do that? That's what I don't understand.
All right, I think, call the question, so let's do a roll call vote.
Trustee Brochus,
Yes.
trustee Borker. No. Trustee Henry,
This is for the whole package?
Yeah.
Yes.
trustee Paul Mikowski,
No.
trustee Borker,
Yes.
trustee Calvin,
Yes.
President Lang.
Yes. All right. We're going to section 84.56 sub D.
Do I talk first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just two things. I don't know what ended up with item.
One, I think you're looking for.
Yeah.
No,
For the
no,
30% versus 40.
no, it was about, it was removed at the planning commission, scroll down, please.
One.
And, or maybe. Driveways and access routes and walking trails. It was, the driveways part was omitted at planning commission. I'd like to keep that in, but add that benefit the village.
So public driveways and access.
Well, just the way it's written, driveways and access roads and walking trails that benefit the village.
Yeah.
Example, a driveway that goes up to a reservoir. That needs to remove trees. We just think that should be not included because it's the benefit to the village.
Right, let's not, I don't like the word benefit because it's very broad, so someone's gonna define it. So what you're really saying is if they're public, if it's a public driveway, a public access route, or a public walking trail, that shouldn't count towards your tree count.
No, not public, well.
Yeah, I'm trying to come up with a non-public one we would have.
What would it be called? What would the driveway be called through the woods to the reservoir?
Be-
Access route?
It'd be a village access road.
Perfect, leave it as is.
No, you need to, I'm agreeing with you, it needs to be defined as village or public.
So do you say village,
But it's not
village
that
access
benefits
routes?
the village, cause you could put up. Saying your driveway to the golf course benefits the village.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? It's not defined.
Yeah, I just, somehow a driveway to the reservoir, but if that's an access route, that's fine.
So you could just say village access routes and walking trails.
There you go.
That solves
That's
it.
just, so it's not lost in this conversation. We are committed. Don't necessarily know the timeline, because it'll depend on ox sales and golf course. But we are committed to restore 145 acres of this property. So even though the report or the numbers that are being thrown out of 106 acres of tree removal. We plan on coming back at 145, so actually doing more than we're removing, to restore the property. And that's laid out in the, report from our ecologist.
And you're okay with the 40% even though? Okay.
So what does the 40% mean?
So-
With a 40% cap, I don't know.
What we're looking at is right now they can remove 30% without variance, right?
Right, yeah.
Okay. But we've given them exemptions of invasive trees, buckthorn and stuff like that, which doesn't count towards that 30%.
Okay.
All right, but the plan commission wanted a cap, because let's say it's all buckthorn and whatever, and they take 80% and there's only 20% left because of all the exemptions. So what this does is kind of caps the exemptions.
So it means they can only take 40 per.
Well, let's take, total, let's say if there's 300 acres, and this is what I wrote up there, 30% is 90 acres, right?
Right.
I didn't write, that was for our plans commission. 40% would be 120 acres, all right? So let's say they do one fairway that's 20 acres. But 10 acres of that is honeysuckle. So under the 90, they're only gonna be charged 10 acres, right?
Right.
But under the 120, you would have the whole 20.
Oh, I got you.
So there's a cap on how much can actually be removed.
40% of the
Mhm.
all existing, pre-existing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And while I voted for that to me, and I can't come up with a number because I look at this, I don't know how many people have seen Fesky Park. For 5 years, they went through, cut all the honeysuckle and buckthorn. Clearly, they took more than 30% out of that wood, but they took all the junk trees out and you see all the Indian grass growing in it. They burned it this year. So it's what we want. And as I mentioned at plan, I can tell you hill slopes, steep slopes that we did and hilltops, we clear cut. We cut every single cedar tree off of those. And why? Because they're trying to bring back the dry line prairies. And the cedar trees took over them, and that's why when you drive down, which used to be nice prairies, are all slopes with cedar trees. So if you're looking from a standpoint, I understand there's this number here, but I would have no problem if they took every single buckthorn and every single honeysuckle off that whole thing and made it a really nice woods. Now, people are gonna notice that because there is a lot of the green that you look on that hillside is honeysuckle and buckthorn. And a few other invasive plants that are there. And it was mentioned by somebody who spoke about what you want to do is get the undergrowth, there. When you look at these invasives, they pretty much destroy everything. There's not much growing under them, so it's a huge benefit to remove them. But I understand where people are coming. They don't want to see a whole hillside with no greenery on it. Even though if you look at the policy of the DNR and what they require landowners that are in their forest management program, it's pretty much clear cutting sections of your property. And I know that from experience because I just went through it 2 years ago. And it's clearly clear cutting. There isn't a tree left. So, but again, that would be something for, I guess, discussion later on, if they want to keep it at 40%, but I would not have a problem if our employee said, hey, we should clear this whole hillside of honeysuckle. Did I not let you? Oh, I let you, okay.
Well, I guess you sort of asked if you guys, we're not, if you wanted to omit the 40%, we would be fine. But worst case scenario, we'd accept it.
Yeah, I don't wanna omit it because that came through plan and I can't do it, but certainly,
But
I'm
other
just-
things tonight came through plan. We changed.
I know, but like I say, it's something that it's the unknown. Because I haven't walked the whole property and don't know what it would look like and what the master plan would be, so. I just wanted to point that out so everybody understands that this percentage thing. To me is not the way you really manage forests, but.
Hey,
Go ahead, Mike.
so what did we change that driveway and access route line to? Was it something?
Yeah, so I had written down just village driveways and access route, or village access routes and walking trails is what I wrote down.
I'll make the motion to approve the selected plan commission changes for section 84.56D as presented. With the addition of the word village preceding access routes and walking trails.
Second.
All right, a motion and a second discussion.
Can I just ask, just to clarify?
Yeah,
Where
absolutely.
it says village access, do we need to say? When you were talking about it being like public, it's village, a strong enough word for that.
Well, I guess after I said it, I wanted to take it back because there's some access roads we really don't want the public to be on.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I'm thinking, the roads to our reservoirs, we gate.
Could it be like village controlled or village, I don't know if that's.
I mean, you could do village access routes and public walking trails
Oh,
or something.
but that's what it is, so that's okay, right? It is village access routes.
Yeah, that's the change.
So that means like, as in,
They could be public or non, they could be open to the public or not with that language.
okay,
The village controls that, so if we
Okay.
want them open,
Yeah.
we can, if we don't, we can.
I think that's why I was thinking like village controlled. Village just seems like any access route. For a while.
Oh, I see, you're thinking people are gonna interpret it and that it's in the
Yeah,
village
yeah.
versus, I see where you're coming from. I just control.
Village
I think-
controlled?
Yeah, I think that would be better. Then it clears it up that it's not just a location.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Is that an amendment?
Yeah, it needs to be an amendment.
Okay,
Did
so-
we already?
We're gonna motion.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
All right, so you gotta
So
make that,
Make a motion to change the wording to village control access routes and.
Second. Oh wait, I can't, sorry. Tim.
Well, I'll second it.
discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. So moved, okay, now we're back to the original.
With control that.
Yeah. All right, any other discussion, Michael?
Why were removal of trees rated fair by the village of College just wanted to be excluded from this? It's fair. I mean, it's better or more, but why that exclusion?
Yep, 10 o'clock dentist appointments tomorrow.
Okay.
I can talk about some things, but not that. I don't know how they rate trees. And it's a little different because I didn't see veneer trees listed on there and falls under excellent or not.
I don't know. I mean, the 40% cap puts a cap. But the fair excludes a lot more, but the 40% keeps the cap over it all though, so. I gotta live with that, I guess. With the 40%. Cause otherwise we're moving the fair to 32% continues to move up quite a bit.
All right. Let's do a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Borger,
Yes.
trustee Henry,
Yes.
Trustee Brochus.
Yes.
Trustee Polanowski.
Yes.
Trustee Borman.
Yes.
Trustee Cavalier.
Yes.
President Lee.
Yes. All right, I forgot how we handled this last two with commission. Did we vote? So, or is it just, we knew it was just automatically going to change? I don't remember what we.
I was confused because there wasn't anything in the packet with the
Okay.
last two. There isn't anything in here. So are we changing anything?
Well,
No.
well, it's, you're
No.
changing it to represent what we passed earlier on.
Right, so there's no change left to do.
Right.
Because we've already taken care of all the changes and all that, all this does is it points to what we've already changed.
Is that,
Right.
I thought there was some actual detail, no?
No, there's not.
Okay.
Yeah,
so then-
and there wasn't for plan either. And we went the same way, so.
Okay,
So there's no changes in those last.
There are no changes in the last two, no.
Because I was kind of.
yeah, I asked the same question, Edwin.
Yeah.
I claimed, but when I read them, I just didn't know if we needed to. All right, so nothing needs to happen there. Future agenda items.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nothing, all right, do I have a motion for adjournment?
I'll motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you very much.
Just a reminder, I will not be